Aw, come on, man.
It's
Go for it, dude.
It's Friday! Friday! Friday!
It is indeed that here on SDH AM. John Nelson here with you. You there, me here. We got a lot to talk about on a bunch of different levels. Bart Keeler is going to join us here in just a little bit once I finish the opening rundown, because we've got to talk about men's national team. We've got to talk about women's national team camps. We've got to talk about who's in said camps. We've got to talk about Trinity Rodman and the deal that is apparently on her agent's desks from a different league other than the NWSL. We've got to get into all of that. Now, also, coming up 10 o'clock, Miguel Gallardo from Apple TV Plus and MLS Season Pass. He's going to be joining us. We'll ask him some questions about the purple team. We'll ask him that. And we'll also ask about the final 8 that are going on this weekend in Major League Soccer, get his thoughts on the season so far. Roster decisions. Charlotte have made their roster decisions public for 26. We got to get into that. Also, Kaylor Hodges is going to join us. We caught up with him late last night as he was preparing to go to Tulsa for the USL Championship. And so we've got to catch up with Kaylor. We're going to catch up with Miguel Gallardo. And we're going to catch up with somebody named Bart Keeler, because it's that time to discuss anything and everything going on with U.S. soccer. And so we bring in Bart, wasting no time in a no dilly, no dally zone on a Friday. What is up as you rep WBGV at the end of a Monday through Friday? What's going on? Mm-hmm.
Well, John, I think you mentioned NCAA soccer, so had to rep Marcus Caldera and the Mountaineer men with a big win last night.
Yes, absolutely true. Oh, that reminds me. I've got to load something into the system, because it wasn't all just men. It wasn't all just the men's action, but we did have some women's action yesterday, and there was one team in particular from a somewhat neighboring state to the WBGV folks, and they, as one of the top teams in the country, are no longer in the tournament, because this happened late in the second overtime, thanks to our friends at Ohio State University, their own selves, and the NCAA.
Hiltonen and Notre Dame clears as far as the Ohio State defense, and Decker. 40 seconds remaining. The Buckeyes with a mad dash to the finish line. Kasica leaps. It's beyond her. Can they put it in? They do! Ohio State has scored! Unreal! "34 seconds left, and it's a scarlet and gray stunner in South Bend. The Buckeyes advance to the Sweet 16. Outshot 36-8, and it's this one that counts from Jaden Bonham.
It's heartbreak for Notre Dame, one of the best teams in the country all season long.
And yes, it was, because 34 seconds left in the second overtime. Notre Dame, one of the best teams in the country, is no longer in the tournament. That gave me an excuse to put that highlight in. So thanks to Ohio State, thanks to the NCAA, Notre Dame gets bounced in women's soccer last night. So, yeah, you mentioned college. I go to college. All right, what else is on your mind?
Well, John, I don't know if you know, but the U.S. men just played a couple of friendlies and had a pretty darn big win.
Yes, and your observations before we get into the comments of the second coach that was defeated in this particular run of form by the USMNT, sir.
Oh, okay. I'm glad we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
You know, John, I think both of these matches were important for this program, because despite what our head coach wants to say, our top level talent just wasn't here. He wants to rant and rave about all that, and I get the coach speak. I mean, could you imagine if you told Kirby Smart that guys starting a game weren't his best players or first choice players? You know, it very much sounded like a Nick Saban rant.
Oh, boy.
But this was a window where those guys were going to have to fight for an opportunity to make the World Cup roster. This was their chance. Again, there are several guys who, despite what Mauricio Pochettino says, absolutely have to be on this roster in June 2026 if we want to make a big run. And they weren't here. So that meant you had guys who maybe we don't, as fans, have the confidence in yet, that I'm hoping that after this window, we have a reason to be confident in them. Now, all that said, yes, it's a big win. Love to beat a team 5-1. Love to beat South American team 5-1. Love to beat a former World Cup winning team 5-1. I don't know how much we can extrapolate that game and that performance to other teams as a whole. And I'll explain why, John. Firstly, it did look a little bit like Uruguay was, I don't want to say they gave up, but after the third goal especially, they kind of just said, okay.
Yeah.
You know, they're also in the middle of a lot of their club seasons. The World Cup is many months away. I think this is their first match in about 2 years that isn't a competitive match, right, between Copa America and then qualifying. So I'm not discrediting the 5-1. 5-1 is a big scoreline, but I do think that just on the whole, you have to go, well, we got a little lucky with some of our finishes. You know, as much as we love that set piece routine from Berhalter's first goal, and it is replicable, doesn't mean it's always going in. And John, my second point is we know this for the system very well as Atlanta fans because we watched it for half a season. If you're not giving 100% in your pursuit of the man you're marking in a Bielsa system, it ain't gonna be good. It ain't gonna be good. I think that was a little bit the case.
No, yeah, it's not good. And I did bring this up when it was announced after the loss the next day that the national team was going to have a Marcelo Bielsa press conference. Everybody's sitting there going, ooh, 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 ooh. You know, is he gonna bring the white towel and is he gonna throw it in the middle of the ring? And I remarked on the show, I said the last time Marcelo Bielsa called something like this, when everybody was going, ooh, 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 is he gonna resign? He ended up having, I think it was a 2.5-hour press conference with a PowerPoint presentation telling folks why he didn't need to cheat in the Premier. I think it was in the Premier League at the time. So it was either Premier. It was when he was with Leeds. So
that's my whiteboard, you know?
Yeah, really. So it's in the back of my mind that Marcelo Bielsa could give the swerve, and instead of sitting there and being like the Costa Rican national team, who's basically had it with El Piojo, it could have been a swerve, and it was a swerve because he goes for an hour and 45 minutes in Montevideo, Uruguay, and he said he did not say anything. I didn't want to absolve himself from any kind of blame. Here's some of the quotes. Here are some of the highlights from the presser. I'm a generator of tension. When I arrive, the environment becomes tense. That's why I appear infrequently. I am shy, obsessive. I'm a robotic person. I don't like clutter. Those are my flaws. I find it difficult to act free-spirited and friendly. Quote 2, I'm toxic. To associate yourself with me makes you worse off. Do you understand me? There are toxic types who only see the errors that they are correcting, who are demanding, who are never satisfied with anything. Don't think I enjoy it. For me, it's karma. Luis Suarez criticizes him publicly. Bielsa says this: I never responded to each of the claims he gave, but I did talk about it internally with the players. All that passed. I don't hold a grudge or seek revenge. And apparently there were references to false teeth, Brad Pitt, tomatoes, garages, tango singing, reporters asking questions. And you're thinking, okay, Uruguay, I ain't messing with Uruguay. I know I'm not messing with Marcelo Bielsa in the first place. But, Uruguay, when they were going through CONMEBOL, they were sending up a bunch of red flags to everybody sitting there going, I don't want to mess with this bunch. And now it makes you wonder what bunch you're going to get when the cup that the world is chasing in 26. I'm intrigued now. It is an extra level of intrigue involving Marcelo Bielsa. And those dudes that you say threw in the towel after it got to 3 in the first 30-something minutes, I'm wondering how many of those dudes are going to be hanging around at those camps in 26 as they get ready for chasing after the cup? That's my big question.
That's a fair analysis of that because, again, as we know, we experienced this in Atlanta. If you are not committed to the cause, you're not going to be a part of the ship. You're not on this crew. You're not even allowed to be a passenger. There are no passengers on Captain Bielsa's pirate ship.
No, that's like Julie's going to tell you about what's going on the Lido deck later on today, and Captain Stubing's going to sit there and say, well, wait a second, we had a full boat a minute.
Y'all, we got a Love Boat reference from John this morning. I love it.
It's a Friday, dude. Come on now.
So I'm not trying to discredit the 5-1 win because, again, that is big, right? But I will say, John, and I was crunching the number. I didn't crunch the numbers. Someone else crunched the numbers, and I just read them.
There you go.
I think when you look at this 5-game unbeaten run, the game that was statistically the most impressive was actually that Japan 2-0 win. They created almost 2.3 total XG compared to this game where it was about 1. It's around 1.5 XG. Right. So score 5 goals off of that, John. Go play the lottery, right? Like that's where we're at. Not that that's a bad thing, right? Again, converting chances we should always be happy to do. But I think when you look at the game, things went your way. Never apologize for that. Never apologize for that. But when you look at a holistic approach, right? We know that creating more opportunities leads to more chances, leads to, in theory, more goals. So that's been a thing this entire run is that we've averaged more than 1.2 XG in all 5 of these games. Even the Ecuador game where we tied. That is the positive. That is where I'm looking at is right now, this team realized, oh crap, we can't play like crap. Because fairly, we were criticizing Pochettino and this crew this summer because it looked, we didn't know what we were doing. We had guys who were going, yo, that dude's not making a World Cup roster. And while some of them showed out Monday or Tuesday night in Tampa Bay, right. Which, John, I have to rant. They did not put the American Outlaws underneath the side with the ship. And I just feel like that's a missed opportunity.
Oh, I know.
Now, maybe that's a safety concern because I knew someone from the American Outlaws would try to commandeer the ship and sail.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see you wearing the sideways pirate hat and trying to get onto the bow or the stern and grab one of the lines, sit there and go swinging back and forth on national television. I can see that.
Captain Black Bart is ready to sail.
Amen, brother.
But I think when you look at the stretch, John, it's been good, and it finally looks like we have a direction. That part is good. Again, this one game is great, but I'll also say if we were told after the Switzerland game by the same dude to not panic or not, be super mad about it because he has a vision, that's fine. I think it's Dan on the Solid Verbal always says, you take your best game, you take your worst game, you throw them out. You are what you are on an average day.
Look, it's judging in figure skating and gymnastics. You take out the high, you take out the low, you have your mean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what we've seen the past couple games, John, is a team that is performing well, playing well, and for the most part, converting chances when they get them. And that is a recipe for success at a big tournament coming up on our home soil next summer.
Yes, I have heard of this tournament. All right, let's.
What's it called again?
The cup the world is chasing after in 2026, I believe. I don't want to get FIFA, mad or nothing. So that's why I kind of don't say
global soccer event championship
extravaganza. Yes, absolutely true. Where there will be serpentina and fireworks and the whole thing. We have a camp that is not a camp cupcake that is here in these here months, and it's on the women's side. And I wanted to discuss this because you have 26-player training camp roster for the final 2 matches of the year. Italy in Central Florida on the 28th. Fort Lauderdale, I guess it's at the Erector Set on December 1st. Naomi Girma returns she returned to action with Chelsea for the first time this year. Roster gets 2 first-time call-ups. Bay FC keeper Jordan Silkowitz, Chicago Stars forward Jamise Joseph. Kate Wiesner was a training player during a Hayes first training camp in 2024. Obviously, that means that one of 7 players picked from the teams competing Saturday in the NWSL Championship game, along with Croy Bethune, Lily Royale, Emily Sonnet, Jalen Howell, Rose Lavelle, Jaden Shaw. So your roster. Keepers, Claudia Dickey, Mandy McGlynn, Jordan Silkowitz. 10 defenders in the 26. Bug, Fox, Girma, Patterson, Real, Izzy Rodriguez, Emily Sams, Emily Sonnet, Kennedy Wesley, Kate Wiesner. Midfield, Bethune, Coffey, Heaps, Howell, Hutton, Lavelle, and Johannes. Forwards, Joseph, Macario, Moultrie, Sears, Shaw, and Alyssa Thompson. What say you?
Well, first off, John, there's a lot of women on this roster who'll be playing in a championship game on Saturday, and I hope everyone joins me at Side Saddle for that crossover event with Jolene and Side Saddle. So come on over. Look, I think first off, this roster is still in that exploratory. However, so I think we're seeing what the top end looks like. I do want to point out that no foul until it's Joyce because she broke her eye socket, John. She has a broken eye socket. But Dickey performed well last camp in the games that she got. So I'm excited to see if she is the number one for this camp. Now, I don't know if that'll be true. It might be Dickey, McGlynn. I don't think Silkowitz is factoring in too much. Now, I could be wrong. I like Dickey. I think Seattle, for some reason, gets good goalkeepers. If you remember, PTJ was at Seattle before she went to Manchester United. But that is still a position of I think PTJ is the number one. I think Dickey has proven if she can play with her feet pretty well and keep most balls out of the net, that's one to look for. Defenders, John, you mentioned it. Girma's back. I, personally, as someone who will be attending one of these matches in person,
far out,
want to see, give me a backline of Girma, Bug, and Sams. I want to see what that looks like, and I just want to see them boss the Italian team and say, nah, you're not getting past us. Emma has been playing kind of a 3-back system. It's similar to the way Pochettino, there's 4 defenders out there. One of them goes up, one of them kind of stays. So I am curious if that'll continue. We do have Emily Fox in this camp, who is a right back and plays that position very well for Arsenal, despite Arsenal being abysmal right now. I don't want to talk more about that. But I'm curious how that fits in, because those 3 that I mentioned, plus Fox, those are really good defenders. Avery Patterson and Izzy Rodriguez have also proven pretty decently in U.S. women's camp. So, look, we love her. She's a Georgia girl. I don't know where Emily Sonnet fits in this camp anymore, in this team, just to be quite honest. There are players who are outplaying her at the national team level. Now, that said, Emily Sonnet, like I mentioned, is playing a championship game on Saturday, so she's still doing something right. But I do have a lot of excitement for this defensive group, because I think we might start seeing that crew that, if healthy, can really play together, congeal, and become a force as we move forward with 2026, which is, we've talked about a lot on our show, is building toward that qualification tournament in December, because CONCACAF doesn't actually believe in equality, and they refuse to have a real qualification process for the women. We have to play a random tournament. But that is what it's all building to, is that November-December qualification tournament, John. So still experimenting. Some names on here that definitely won't be a part of that. But I think we're starting to see the cream rise to the top, and I think I would like to see what Emma truly feels is her best lineup at some point during this camp, and just see how they play.
The other topic that I wanted to put on the table this morning as we lead into the weekend is the Trinity Rodman situation, and we'll call it that because it has been reported now, well, first and foremost, that her agent is directly negotiating with the NWSL Commissioner Jessica Berman over her future in the NWSL. But, surprising no one, the reps have already had discussions also with a couple of women's Super League teams. And now DC Power is involved. So the other league, the other women's league in this country that has ties, and I imagine something akin to the pocketbook of DC United, which isn't really all that deep. It's about as deep as my wallet, frankly. They might be interested in giving Trinity Rodman an offer larger than she currently has in the NWSL. So the Trinity Rodman intrigue is now front and center when it comes to her future and her future job location.
Bruh, this is a problem for NWSL because they have lost in the past couple years, right? Naomi Gurma, Alyssa Thompson, even to an extent, Emily Fox is up there of someone who has decided to go play overseas.
Right.
Now you're talking about your other domestic league coming out and paying the money. Now, first off, I wonder where DC Power is getting that money because they haven't seemed to want to actually put together a good team in the year and a half they've existed so far.
I was going to say, the ties to DC United and because they share venue and everything.
Yeah, because DC United throws around a lot of money too, John.
Right.
Yeah.
As I said, they're my wallet is as deep as theirs. You want to see DC United's budget?
Yeah,
that's my wallet. And you see what's flying out of my wallet right now.
Now that said, the rumor is only about 800,000. And if I'm Trinity Rodman, I know my worth, and
that'd be a bra in and of itself.
Yeah. I do. If she wants to go be the female version of Christian Benteke and be on a team that's absolutely not very good, but is the shining star in that team, she probably can, and she would boss that league. Let's just be real honest. I mean, look, reality is NWSL is a better league than USL Super League. Sorry, but it just is. NWSL does need to address this because whether it's through a designated player mechanism, which I know they hate, whether it's just expanding the salary cap, something, because
which they are planning to do incrementally by 2030, but I fear that the increments aren't big enough to match the growth curve of the league, and especially with another team coming in 28 that let me see if I go this way and I point here. There's a team coming in 28.
You got it.
That they're really
will spend money. Wants to spend money. And to be frank, I think Arthur Blank is one of those. I would imagine. Now, I don't think we haven't seen the C-SPAN vote lineup, but I would imagine Arthur Blank is one of the dudes who has been voting. Well, maybe not him, but yeah, I guess him. He's
or Josh. Yeah,
one of those two. But together they're voting to expand spending and loosen roster restrictions in MLS. I can only imagine how he's going. Look, I got $500 million to spend on this roster. Let me spend it. I'm concerned, as you pointed out. Yes, it increases every year, as MLS's does, right?
Yeah.
But the thing about NWSL that they do not have to any sort of ability to compare to with MLS is NWSL, and I will continue to say this, is the best league of their soccer, right? NWSL is the best women's soccer league. Now, there may be some teams in other leagues that are better. Barcelona's a phenomenal team.
Absolutely.
Chelsea's a phenomenal team.
That was a great match yesterday.
Top to bottom, though, we ain't got a Aston Villa or a Leicester or an Osasuna, right? We don't have those teams. That's because there's so much good talent here. So you have to pay the talent.
I mean,
it's period.
Yeah, I mean, you're just saying it. So I think we're at a crossroads. If we could, please, we'll put a bookmark there. Revisit it on Monday. You're coming back on Monday, or are you Thanksgiving?
I'll
or
be
what
here
are you
Monday.
doing? Okay.
No, I will be here Monday. I am not traveling. I'm not in suburban Chicago, freezing a little bit, like I was this past week. Actually, I was inside the whole time, so it was fine.
But still, going
I
from
was-
point A to get inside to point B, traditionally, it's
Yeah, I was networking, John, as you
Yeah.
do at these trade shows.
Yes, absolutely true. What's up with Soccer for USPOD?
We're gonna hopefully record on Monday, actually, because like I said, I didn't get home until Wednesday, and then I had a ton of things to do. So Monday we'll record a wrap up of these two games, and then continue to kind of have a couple episodes in December recapping both men's and women's years, and then our friend and frequent guest Lawrence Dockery does a yearly all attendance table. Basically, he puts out multiple stories, articles each year about attendance for all U.S. soccer that he can find. So MLS, NWSL, USL, NCAA. And so far, the attendance figures for U.S. Soccer, MLS, and NWSL have been a little disheartening, and we might have to go into as why that is. And we'll be going through that through December as well. So there's still content despite the fact that the men are no longer playing. And to answer David's question real quick, yes, there are sports bars. I do not have the names of them off the top of my head. There are plenty of bars around Enter and Co Stadium that are very much within walking distance. He'll have no problem watching Tech beat Georgia on Saturday before you go watch the U.S. women play Italy, which should be a good matchup. I do want to underscore that. Italy is a semifinalist at the Euros. They are a pretty darn good team. Should be a good matchup.
Hickory dickory dockery, the fans run up the clockery, and we'll keep an eye on what's going on with the Soccer for USPOD. As always, my friend, great to see you. Thanks for dropping by. We'll catch up with you on Monday with what happened on the weekend.
Happy Friday.
There he goes. There's Bart Keeler, and he's out the door. And so now it's time to catch up and raise a glass. It is time to raise a glass on a successful season. And for this, we go to Columbus, Ohio, and catch up with our friend Michael Parkhurst. Sir, yesterday I was sporting the gear. You would have been proud, but I salute everything that happened in year 2 for Rhode Island FC. And I know that you are still rueing what happened on the weekend, sir. But congratulations on yet another race well run for a young franchise.
Thanks. Yeah, obviously disappointing finish. Had our chances in the game, didn't take them. That's what happens. Former Atlanta United guy got us. So it's all good. It happens. But yeah, we were close. Successful season.
No doubt. So what were the lessons that you think you as an MIT and the front office and the club may take forward from year 2 that you can run into year 3, because it's you've got a new barn, you've got a new home, you've got all this different ideas of infrastructure and club organization and running things on 24/7. What do you think you'll learn that will be learned from this year that you can carry forward?
Yeah, a lot. There's a lot on the business side and off the field, and first year in the stadium, learning a lot there. But on the field, a good amount as well, as far as we'll have some turnover in the roster, and just what we need out of our roster and size of it, and who fits the style of play, and just realizing that not every good soccer player fits every system and every style that a coach wants to play. So just getting the right people for how Kano wants Rhode Island FC to play, and that fit that. And so, we will change some things and move some pieces around, and that'll give us a little bit more flexibility with the roster. And, but yeah, I think that our goal is definitely to start the season a lot faster next year. 2 years in a row, we've been in a not great place the first at least half of the season. So we'd like to put ourselves in a better position halfway point next year, where we're, in the top 4 or right there. So yes, that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, for 2 years in a row, you've come out of lane 8. And it has been one of those sprints where, you're coming around the corner and then all of a sudden you see somebody coming from behind, and it's you guys, meaning Rhode Island FC, and you come and crash the postseason party. And then when you get into the postseason, then everybody's on their heels, and you've been taking advantage of it, making an appearance in the last game of the year last season, conference final this year. when it comes to consistency of making sure that that switch is flipped from the beginning, how difficult is that to be at 100%, but not completely and totally just blow out the engine when you really need it in the postseason? How hard is it to come out of the blocks storming, but not lose that momentum and that energy over the span of a season? So, when you get into the postseason, you still have that energy. How difficult is that to maintain?
Yeah, it's super. It's a challenge for every team in the world. Every team in the world. And if you gave any coach a choice of would you rather start strong or finish strong, they're going to say finish strong. So as long as the finishing strong is enough to get you in the playoffs and, into a postseason run, and if you're 30 points out of a playoff spot and you finish strong, then, that's crazy. But yeah, that's a challenge. And, the good news is that we've figured out a way to peak at the right time of the year, but we definitely need to do a better job getting out of the gates a little faster. And we handicapped ourselves this year, right? We started 6 games on the road because of the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
It's never easy. Year one is always going to be a tough start, just, as everybody's getting used to each other and figuring things out. But so, you can make excuses about any year though, likely. So, but I think that the preseason will be important for us. We're trying to play more higher level teams, less teams that are below our level. And so, yeah, hopefully that'll help. Hopefully the continuation of a good pocket of the roster will help as well. So yeah, we're banking on those things. And then we're trying to get some home games early on in the season, even though it'll be cold. We want to have some home games to make sure that we're doing everything we can to start the season off towards the top of the table.
And at the same time, that you can market the thermal gear that Rhode Island FC would be wearing on those matches. You can put it at the team store and have folks purchase it, and they could dress like the team in cold weather, not just in warm weather.
True that.
I mean, okay, you know me. I'm always looking out for the mogul and
marketer extraordinaire at heart.
Give me a break. Yeah, right. Since you opened up a couple of doors for the mentoring portion here, maintaining energy over the span of a season, whatever that season is, because for a mentee, it could be anything from school and the high school team to travel ball team to going into a tournament, being plucked and sitting there, and it's like, okay, we want you to do this. So you have all of these different opportunities to showcase yourself these days for the young athlete. How difficult is it to manage it from what you and Greg have been able to stare at, to be at 100%, knowing that you're being pulled in all of these different directions, and it's on the field and off the field that you're being pulled apart here? How difficult is it for the young athlete to maintain that energy level and be there each and every time you're called upon, even though it could be something different, because you're showcasing yourself 19 different ways these days instead of just like high school, college, travel? I mean, it's a whole lot different. How difficult is it to get them to maintain that energy, knowing you're going to have all these different appearance opportunities?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing that the younger generation has a lot more energy, right? That's for a reason.
I'm good to go.
But I mean, that's the challenge for even the pros, right? We're talking about consistency, and it's not just can you have a good game here or there. It's how often can you be good, and you're never going to be at top form for a year long. That's so difficult, right? Only a handful of players probably in the world can do that. Even look at Liverpool, look at Mo Salah. Just they have down periods, and that doesn't mean they're bad players or they've lost it or anything, right? It's just part of the process. And so that's why we're trying to harp on, hey, it's not all about the results, right? Just get better. Keep enjoying yourself, enjoy what you do every day, and get a little bit better. And if you're doing that, in the long run, it'll work out. But that's more important than if you win on Saturday or, do you score a goal on the weekend? Because that's hit or miss. And, but that process and that work rate is going to be there all the time. So that's where you got to try and have the consistency before on the weekend, finding that consistency.
How difficult is it, though, you mentioned enjoying yourself because of all of these pressures, internal and external. And God, I remember, 128 years ago when I was in high school, all the external pressures, more academic than athletic, because not everybody wanted to see a left-handed third baseman. They're like, no, go play first base. No, you're going over there. You're going out to right field. It was like Les Nessman. You're going out to play right field, Les. That's how it's going to go. But with all of these pressures that are there these days, I would imagine, first off, that there are more pressures today on young student athletes than there were when you were in high school, and definitely when I was in high school in the days of black and white TV. I mean, so are there more pressures, or am I just barking up a wrong tree here?
There's more pressures. There's more pressures just because the level's higher. There's more individual training. There's more insight into what other people out there are doing, and what is needed in order to get it to the higher level. There's more pressure internally because the cost of everything is so much higher. So, and I understand this aspect. Parents are now, and I even encourage this too, right? If you're on the fence of like, hey, is my kid ready for travel, or should we stay in rec? And part of that is having a conversation that, hey, there's a big commitment financially and time from the family, and the player needs to be committed to not be insane about the sport.
All of the effort that's attached to it. Know that you're getting into.
But the players gotta match that with, hey, yeah, I want to go to practice. I want to get better. I'm not going to just waste your time and go out here and mess around and not want to get better and do these things, right? So, with that, I think comes a little bit more pressure on the players, right? I don't know. I never felt that when I was younger, but I just love to play. I don't think the costs were as crazy as they are now either. And we weren't kind of playing year round like we are now. So of course it's just different. And, social media, of course, we've touched on that before. It's difficult.
And, internal pressures, external pressures from social media are an entirely different thing that's attached to all of this. And when you see how things are different these days, and you wonder, is the first impulse correct? Like if I was to ask you, just as an example, you want to go out and shoot a 78 tomorrow, right? What's your first impulse? Yes. Yeah. And so that's the thing. It's like, if you have a question like that, it's a duh, it's a duh response. But when it comes to all of the investment these days, when it comes to parents into their kids, coaches into student athletes, is that first impulse still the right impulse, or do you hear a lot of second guessing about things like this? Or, to me, I would, the duh is the easy part of this. But if you have to think about it, are you thinking about it too long? And then is it not a duh, I guess, is basically what I'm getting to when it comes to student athletes these days.
Because John, if you asked me if I'd be committed to going to the range once a week for 6 months in order to really get better, I'd be like, probably not.
Right.
If I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to do that. Right. So yeah, I want to shoot a 78, but I'm not going to put in the actual work to be able to help myself go shoot a 78 pretty consistently.
Yeah.
I might get lucky once and shoot a 78.
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't mean I'm a 78 golfer.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. To be honest, sidebar, my rounds are so infrequent that I find that after that long layoff, my first round back, because I haven't devoted any time to the range or whatever, I'm just kind of like, YOLO and Leroy Jenkins the whole time. And it's just like fire away. And I'll shoot that 78 just because of, not thinking about it, no internal pressures, no nothing like that. And to have that, just that once, you'd love to be able to have the responsibility and the thought pattern to continue to carry that through, but that's never the case. You get back out there, and you get back out there, then the pressure starts all over again.
Totally. Yeah. And that's why every sport's a lot mental, right? And what we can what we can do there. Side note, I am going. So I'm going to be down in Atlanta next week because we're doing a camp, Greg and I, with 90 plus training in Marietta.
Nice.
On Monday and Tuesday, but I'm getting down there early because I'm going to play golf with former Atlanta United legend Mark Bloom on Sunday morning at Cherokee. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Are you going to play like $1 Nassau per hole, or is Bloomy going to sandbag you the whole time? How does this work usually?
Likely. I mean, he's in the finance world now. He's a finance bro. So my guess is he probably plays golf like 5 days a week and works like 5 hours a week. I don't know that for sure, but that's my guess. So I haven't looked up to see what his handicap is. I probably should do that to see,
Well, no, but I think the key is not to practice between now and then and just go out there and just crush it.
There's no practicing, John. It's like 40 degrees here every day. I'm not,
That's what I'm saying.
No.
Have you ever thought about installing an indoor Parkhurst golf dome facility?
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately not. We do our basement, the ceilings are very low. I don't even know if I could swing a golf club down there.
Okay, so that just means it's hockey or soccer.
It'd have to be an attachment. I guess I could take over the backyard.
Yeah, you could create the Parkhurst dome and just do something in the backyard and have your own like a carriage house. Just sit there, except it's a carriage golf facility. That's what you need.
That's a DIY project, I think.
No. You farm it out. No, it's not a DIY. No, you sit there and it's like there are dudes that do this better than me, and it's like dudes that do this better than me. I'm gonna let you handle it. I will come in and I will thank you and I will write the Yelp review of like 92 stars. But backyard, you guys do it. Make it look good. Here's my specs, and I'll see you later. And I'll come in and I'll practice, and then I'll beat Mark Bloom. That's just kind of how this works. Other topic that you opened up when you were discussing what's going on with Rhode Island FC, the close call, and how that affects people mentally. And I would imagine that when you get to a point where, let's say, with Atlanta United, you win MLS Cup, and then you're literally a step out away from going into a second MLS Cup appearance the next year. And you're right there with that group of folks. With Rhode Island, you make it to the last game of the year, then you make it to a conference final. How do you impart upon your mentees the idea of learn from it, don't let it bog you down? Yeah, it's going to suck for a bit, but but learn from it and don't dwell on it. How difficult is it, especially with the peer pressure that we talked about earlier? How difficult is it to keep them from dwelling on the bad and understand the lessons that you learn along the way?
It's tough. I mean, shoot, that game still hurts me. And that was 5 years ago. I mean, granted, I never got another opportunity to go out there and play another game and get over it in that regard. Right. But yeah, it's tough. Shoot, I remember all 3 of our MLS Cup losses from my first 3 years as a pro. So it's challenging, but that you can use this experience later on at some point when you're in a similar situation. And that's important. The experience of going on the run, the experience of what it takes to have success in the postseason, to get to that point is all important, and it's all useful knowledge for everybody on the team. So, you use that to fuel your next run, of what it takes and how awesome it is to be training when no one else is, right? When that last week of the season that Rhode Island got to play last week, right? There was only 4 teams still training, right? That's pretty cool to think about. And then this whole week, there's only 2 teams training. Like that's why I always remember that when I was making these runs, like, yeah, we're the only guys that still get to do this every day. Everybody else is already on vacation or doing whatever. So yeah, I mean, like everything, we try and take the lessons from the losses to make it worthwhile. But it stings. It hurts. It's tough, especially when you get that far. It's going to sting for a long time, maybe forever. Right. That's okay. That doesn't mean we can't use what we what we learned from those games in the future.
You mentioned it stings to this day, and I mean, how do you? I would imagine also that is it difficult to convert a negative to either a positive or just a kind of something that you navigate and understand? Is it easy to flip that switch over time? Is it something that you just flip immediately to? It's like, yeah, okay, it was great. I'm learning my lessons from it. Okay, move on. How is it difficult to flip that switch to go from, yeah, this sucks, to understanding a lesson when it comes to being on the field, even though you may feel differently off the field?
Yeah, I don't think you have to flip the entire thing,
Mhm.
right? I'm never going to look back at that Toronto game and say, "Oh, that was a positive,"
No.
right? No, it wasn't. It sucked. It will always have sucked. But for other guys to look at and say, "What positives can I get from it?" Right? You can take some positives from an experience, and the experience is still not great. And so I think that's the differentiator. That's still difficult because it still requires you to analyze it and look back on it. And that's tough to do with something that was painful, didn't go your way, you didn't play well, right? It's tough to look back on a game that you played terrible. Um, that's tough because you are trying to forget those difficult moments and put them out of your head. So can you look back? Because you usually don't have a chance to look back until at least a day or two after, right? When the video is available and you can look at it and analyze it, right? And well, the night after the game, I already visualized it all in my head. I went back and thought about all the negative things. So I want to get it out of my head. So it's tough to go back and look at it and learn from it. That's just the nature of it. But that still makes it important. But I don't think you have to flip the whole thing because that's unrealistic, I think.
Is it easier to compartmentalize as you get older, or is it just a learned trait from the absolute beginning of when you're, an athlete and understanding what you want to do with a career or whatever? Is it something that you picked up early in compartmentalizing, or is it just a learned trait over time?
Gets easier, I think, over time, a little bit. I think that you realize that some things are just meant to be, and you don't know why that is in the beginning. Right? And I think I've talked about this before. Like I was so mad at Columbus for trading me,
Yeah.
and then you don't know that it's going to work out in Atlanta. You don't know that it's going to be amazing, and you would have asked to be traded, in hindsight. So you just don't know at the time. But it's tough to say, hey, for some reason, it's not meant to be, or this wasn't meant to be, or for some reason, this is happening to me, and I have to try and make the most of it. And that's tough. And I think you need some experience of going through something and getting on the other side of it and realizing like, hey, it worked out for a reason. It wasn't the journey that I thought I was going to take, but this journey's hardened me, and I'm still on the right track.
Do your mentees question, when they're talking to you and Greg, do they question the journey at that age? Like I said, and these are probably generational divide questions that I'm asking this time, but do they question the journey more? Are they more confident in the journey these days? How is the mentee when it comes to what they want to do with their future? Are they still asking questions? Do they know what they want to do? How are they reacting these days?
Yeah, a lot of them know where they want to get to in the future.
Yeah.
They've got this thought of, I want to be pro, or I want to play in college, or I want to get to an MLS Next academy team, right? But we're trying to help them through that process. It's okay to want that and have that as your goal. What are you doing on a daily basis to try and achieve that goal? That's what we really are trying to help out with, is that approach and breaking it down so that whether they accomplish that goal or not, they can look back and say, hey, did I take these steps to give myself the best chance? And if you did that, then you're probably in a pretty good space to have success either in something else outside of soccer, or just to change your pathway and say, hey, maybe I need to go to D2 first and then I'll go to a D1, or, whatever it might be.
And I think it's refreshing to hear from you when we have these discussions, how level-headed it seems the modern day mentee is. It's like they get it and they understand it. Is everyone level-headed? How much coaching to get to level-headedness are you three having to do, or is perspective, I guess the level of coaching that you have to do and mentoring that you have to do for them to gain perspective to a point? How much of that do you have to do these days?
A lot.
Yeah,
a lot. There's some players, of course, that are more inclined and kind of wired that way, but there's a lot that aren't, and it's not just hey, listen to me talk and tell you this thing for 30 minutes and you'll be good, right? It's kind of showing them things on the field. Like I've got a mentee. He's got bad body language on the field and he's very talented, and it's a problem. And it's one thing to talk about, hey, why is body language important, and how is it perceived by teammates and referees and scouts and coaches and things. But it's another thing to show him and say, hey, man, this is literally your video. Here's your body language when you just made this pass. Here's your body language right now when your teammate didn't. I don't even know if you're aware of it, right? I don't even know if you know that you're doing it. So that's step one, is being aware of it. And then, step two is just, trying to correct it and understand why it's detrimental to your success. Honestly, it is. So body language is such a big one. And we talk about that a lot, but that goes into kind of that level-headedness and understanding the ups and downs. And it's just a small part of it.
See, now, of course, at the tail end of our conversation, you open up a door like body language, and that's going to be like, I'm serious. No, this is the way it always goes. It's like, we'll have a door, we'll open a door, and we'll go down a road, and then always 10 times out of 9, you'll say something at the end, and I'm like, damn, I wish, we had another like 35 minutes or something to get into something like that. But what that also does is it sits there and reminds me that you need to have Mark Bloom's body language be as poor as humanly possible this weekend.
Oh, I'm gonna get in his head. That's for sure, John. I'm gonna win the mental game.
See now, and that's damn it, mental game. Okay, all right. So, and mental game with mentees. So you've given me 2 topics to talk about with you next time out of the blocks, in addition to everything else. So you're coming down here. You're playing golf with Bloomy on Sunday. You got you and Greg are mentoring Monday, Tuesday. Yes.
Yes, we are having a on-field camp, so actual skill stuff. But then part of that, the last 30 minutes of camp, is mentoring. Then we're kicking off our Inter-Atlanta partnership, doing some mentoring sessions with them.
Yes.
Doing some futsal training. I mean, we got a packed couple days.
Awesome, as always. At BG Mentoring on the Twitters, at MF Parkhurst on the 280 character app as well. And it's going to be fantastic to have you down here. Before you go, what's Thanksgiving going to be like at the Casa de Parkhurst?
Low key. We keep it low key. It's going to be football and cooking at the house, and we're trying to maybe do something on Thanksgiving morning where we go donate time, help out somewhere, do something. We haven't done that before, but we feel like we should, especially this year. And so yeah, that's TBD, but the rest of the day would just be us chilling, eating, hanging out.
Good deal. As always, my friend, thanks for opening all these doors. It's great to see you. Enjoy taking Bloomy to the shed when you play 18. Have a fun time with Inter-Atlanta. We'll catch up with you next time, my friend. Great to see you.
Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Happy holidays, and enjoy the Thanksgiving.
You know it, Michael Parkhurst, everybody. And so now it is time, since I tried to filibuster right up till 10 o'clock. And I'm like right there. So I'm wondering if I need to do another 30 seconds or so just to get it right to 10 o'clock. You know what? Forget it. We've got another first timer here on the morning show. And 10 o'clock on Friday mornings is where we bring in all of our friends from Apple TV Plus, and we get to talk about what's going on, season, and all this kind of stuff. We have a very special background this week. Literally, it is a fantastic studio space that Miguel Gallardo is in. We're going to bring him in for the first time, and we're going to welcome him to the morning show. So where are you, Miguel?
Hey, man, what's going on? First of all, your timing is impeccable, I must say.
Oh?
Because I hopped on, and you were right done with Parky. What a player he was. I'm sure he was disappointed, with all the Atlanta United situation this year. But to be frank with you, I am at the LaGuardia airport. I just landed. I am here to cover the conference semifinals. I'm really looking forward to it. It should be a great weekend of soccer.
No doubt about it. And so how was the flight, by the way? You have to ask
Oh,
these important
easy
questions.
peasy, man. From Orlando, it's a 2-hour flight. I'm used to it by now. It's a great flight. It's not a big deal at all. So happy to be here. Obviously, that little break in between the FIFA break, it kind of takes a little bit away from the emotional attachment that I have with the playoffs. But hopefully, within the next 24 hours, we can start to fire up the engines and start feeling excited about it. Get away a little bit from the international soccer, which, by the way, the U.S. men's national team. I mean, what a performance they had, huh? But just really excited to reconnect with the league. Hopefully, with this new calendar thing, this won't be an issue anymore, right? Because I do think that it's a little bit of a negative thing that you have to cut off playoffs in the middle of them so you can focus on international football. So hopefully that won't be the case anymore.
You aren't kidding, brother. That's the way that we're all looking at this kind of thing in the next couple of years. All right. So since you flew in from MCO, you went MCO to LGA. I have to ask, my first question has to do with the purple team, as we refer to it here from our Atlanta base. The off-season roster decisions that were made by the purple team, El Pulpo is no longer, and Robin Johnson is being looked at. They're having separate conversations in the hermetically sealed conference room about a new contract. Sure. What did you think about the off-season moves from the purple team?
Yeah, look, it was really interesting. Pedro Ellis has been here for what 5 years, and he's been very successful, relatively speaking. When I say relatively speaking, I say that because the goal of this club is to win a championship, right? They've invested big, and I know that when you compare it to the LAFCs, the Vancouvers, the Atlantas, the Inter Miami, the investment is not quite as big, but they truly felt like this year was the year to really do something special. And unfortunately, they fell short with, I would argue, the best roster that they've ever had. Pedro was probably one of the players that left a little bit to be desired. Throughout his 6 years, it's been a roller coaster with him because he's turned in incredible performances, but also he's turned in some performances that leave you scratching your head of somebody who's played at the international level, who was the starter for his Peruvian national team. To say that I'm shocked, I don't know. I don't know that I would say that. And also, you have to think that there's a new man at the top of the whole thing, which is Ricardo Moreira. Luis Muzi's not there anymore. And Ricardo Moreira he wants to build his team. And I know there's a strong foundation, obviously, continuation of Oscar Pareja, which is, to me, the biggest thing. But GMs, they want to start their legacy. They want to make an impact on a team. And sometimes when that happens, it's some of the big names that are changed because that's what's going to make the biggest impact. So I'm not shocked. I think that Pedro was a phenomenal goalkeeper, but I think that there's a lot of good options out there. I'm sure that there's a plan behind the decision. I'm curious to see what that's going to be like. And then with Robin Janssen, remember, he battled with injuries this year. To me, he's one of the top defenders in the league. This year, he didn't play as such just because of those injuries, but he's still a very valuable player, and that's why there are some ongoing negotiations. But you know what this sport is like. You have a great year. The next year, they bump you up. You have a year that's not as good as it can be, and then they try to renegotiate with you because that's just the nature of the beast. But I know that he's very valued. He's not just a captain, but a phenomenal defender. I'm interested to see what that situation is going to turn out like.
Yeah, and you mentioned the departure of Luis Muzi, and you now have a new GM, CSO, TD, DT, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of times where they want to bring in their own dude. It's like, I want to make my stamp. I want to bring in my own dude. But you have an established individual there, Oscar Pareja. But at times, and with your playing history and your knowledge there in Central Florida, this is why I ask you, since you're there on the ground with it. It seemed like there were times in years past where Oscar would coach to a point, both in the table and in the schedule. And then it'd be like, okay, we're in the playoffs, we're safe, everything's good. And then you kind of have the downswing of the bell curve and you hit the playoffs and you end up with a clunker. And it seemed like, okay, we're in, slow fade, and then you get bumped. Then a couple of years ago, he went against that type and tried to maintain it as best he could. And that was the strongest and the deepest run, I think, that the purple team had in the postseason. Last season, I think we went back to that where you got to a point and then it's like, and then
Yeah.
you get bumped. I mean, how big a leash do you think Oscar has coming into 26?
Yeah, and listen, that's a great analysis, right? Oscar Pareja was known for the Papi special in years back. He was known for scoring a goal, sitting back, and trying to see how to win. Over the last couple of years, I've seen a massive evolution in his style, being very aggressive. I remember last year, his substitutions were offensive, regardless of the score. You were winning 1-0, 2-0, and you would sub in attacking players. And, I started to see an evolution, but it brings me back to a conversation that I personally have with him. We were actually playing together in a 7-a-side indoor soccer league during the break. And
Uh-oh.
listen, I was brave enough and I asked, it's like, Coach, tell me why. And I said some of the things that you say. And he said to me that coaches can only play the style or the strategy based on the players that they have. And when he said that, fast forward 2 years, he proved it to be true, because when he had attacking pieces, when he had players that can come in and change the game, whether if it was losing or winning, the subs were always offensive and he was always on the front foot. Now, I say that to say that this year, the complexities of of the league. It's so long. The weather, the travel, the international breaks, it's just so complex. And it's so difficult to time. It's like the market, right? It's so difficult to time the dip, but you're going to have a dip. You know that you're going to have a high moment during the league, and you just don't know when that's going to be. Preferably, you want it towards the end. And I just think that things didn't work out in his favor when it comes to the team finishing out the strongest way possible. I think the Muriel situation was big. Muriel was phenomenal for 4 games, and then 2 games he would disappear, and then he'd be a sub, and they would come in, change the game. He was very much a roller coaster of emotions. And to me, when you have a designated player that you cannot guarantee the output, forget about the productivity. I'm talking about what you're going to get from him in terms of the controllables, how much you're going to run, how much you're going to press, right? The energy that you're going to put into the game. I don't know that they were able to guarantee that with Muriel. And then obviously Duncan McGuire, with the situation of him going to Blackburn and then not working out. Then he comes back, he's injured. I just don't think that they had enough pieces to be able to withstand the dip. And towards the end of the season, I think for me, they lost the playoffs, or at least I hope I lost a little bit of hope when they lost on decision day versus Toronto. And I knew it wouldn't be an easy game because Toronto finished strong. They were undefeated like 5 games before that decision day. And they were a team that's being rebuilt with Georgi Mihailovic. So I knew if they lose that game and have to play the play-in, I don't give them a lot of hope. And sadly, that's what ended up happening. But again, I don't know that the coaches can control when the team is on a high and when it's on a low. And unfortunately for Oscar Pareja in Orlando City, with one of the best rosters that they've ever had, despite some of the injuries at key moments, they fell short and they finished the season uh, in a low point, which translated into the frustrations and them being disqualified.
Miguel Gallardo, Apple TV, waiting for his luggage at LaGuardia here. Hanging out for this hour. I don't. Am I far off? Are you waiting for your luggage? What the?
I see my luggage like a little like in a carousel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just going around and round and round. That's okay. No one's gonna take it, man.
Okay, I just checked it. I just wanted to make sure that you're in a safe luggage zone before you head to the studios this weekend.
No one's gonna take my oversized suits.
Okay, dude. I'm right there with you. I make sure that I have the ugliest colored suitcase ever. So that would it's got to be like something pastelish or purple or pink or something. So I know no one's going to take it. They don't want to be caught with that kind of a thing. So it's easy in the carousel. We're down to the final 8.
Yeah.
And when you look at the seedings in the East and the West, it's fairly chalky. That it's top seeds all the way through. Which of the surviving teams was the one that was the biggest surprise for you getting to this point? They might have been on the ropes, but they made it through. And which one was the biggest disappointment, even though they did advance?
And I'll answer your question with the same matchup. I think the biggest surprise for me was Minnesota United. And even though they were higher seeded than Seattle Sounders, I felt Seattle Sounders came in with a strong roster. All their players were healthy. I felt like they were coming in at a really good moment, and Minnesota United was coming in with some key injuries, without a striker, and with a style of play that if you concede a goal, it's difficult to climb back. And that's the challenge with teams that play so defensive when it comes to the flow of the game, because when they have to go find the goal in this format, that's where the challenge becomes more difficult. And I was shocked. I was surprised that Seattle Sounders didn't take that series, because I think during the game they were a better team. They just made mistakes. Obviously, folded during the PKs, and to me that was the biggest surprise. Is Minnesota making it through, and the biggest disappointment was Seattle. Was I surprised that NYCFC made it to the next stage? No, I think that was, for me, that was my dark horse. They were coming in very strong with Alonso Martinez scoring goals, with Fernandez Marcao settling into the league really well, with Hack in the middle of the field playing center back as well, doing a really nice job. Maxi Morales, vintage Maxi Morales, and a couple of other interesting pieces. So I wasn't shocked about them. Now they're going to be in a really challenging situation because Alonso Martinez is out, Andres Perea is also out, and they have a couple of other players that are not going to be available. So again, Minnesota, biggest surprise. I wouldn't say it's a massive shock, but it is. If I had to pick who surprised me, is them, and biggest disappointment would have to be Seattle.
All right, so now we're looking at things. We'll start in the East. You mentioned NYCFC and the road that they've got to take going up against Bradley Carnell. So let me go to the other matchup with Messi and friends going to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
With this particular matchup, we call them the Gulfstream Galacticos. It is that group with Messi and friends going into Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a dog on the juice boxes in this one. Not a shock either, but I think a lot of folks are saying Cincinnati's going to go as Evander goes, and we know what Messi and friends bring to the table.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a fair analysis. I do think that Cincinnati has more dogs. I think Cincinnati has more options, and they don't necessarily depend on Evander to create chances or to be dangerous. I also think they have a little bit of a better defensive structure depending on who's available. By the way, not by much, not by much, and I say that because obviously, Miazga, I don't know that he'll be available. Robinson's is a terrific defender. Haglund, I mean, who the hell would have thought that Haglund would be in a championship caliber team at this stage of his career?
Yeah.
The question I have, what's going to happen to on the other side, right? Is it Hadebe? To me, I don't know that I trust that guy in a do or die moment. Is it Alvis Powell? Obviously, he's proven in the last few games that he's probably not ready mentally for the challenge, although he could surprise you. He's an MLS veteran. I know that Echenique was injured when he played with Venezuela. So what are they going to do there? Do they put Orellano, back on the lineup? And then if that's the case, then you need a stronger defensive structure because these dudes love to get forward, including Yuya Kubo, who's played every position except for goalie for Cincinnati, right? So I do think that attacking wise with Brenner, with Evander, with Denke, with Bucha, with that guy in the middle of the field, Giddy, fantastic spine. Um, but Inter Miami, listen, I just don't know how you can bet against Inter Miami. I just don't know because, I would say if those three guys, if those two guys, if that one guy is on their day, who can stop them? No one can. And I'd actually argue that defensively, Miami's been a ton better than they were last year. And by the way, I said a ton better. The bar was not necessarily high.
No.
The bar was not necessarily high, but when I looked at and I listen, I hate throwing this word out there. When you look at their XG, oh my god, I should quit.
That's $1 in the jar, dude.
When you look at their XG against, it's actually better than most teams that are in playoffs right now. So, I just hate myself for saying that, but it is what it is, man. Listen, I think they're better defensively, and they have a guy that he can just turn on a switch and it's unstoppable.
Yep. We don't necessarily want to do math on this show, especially in the morning. So when you mention things like XG and XA and things like that, I'm
yeah.
To me, that's like Scrabble points. It's fine. You put it over there.
I am so sorry that I said that. Okay. Never again.
It's a dollar. It's a dollar in the jar, Miguel Gallardo.
Who am I becoming? Who is this guy?
It's you haven't even put on the suit and the makeup yet, and you're dropping like XG on us before you head in.
Oh, that's so sad.
On the weekend. All right, Western Conference. Before you get
Yeah.
your luggage, before it gets hijacked from you.
Yeah.
You mentioned Minnesota. Yes, we know they play like the ball's got cooties. They don't want to touch it until you make a mistake, and then they're going to score. San Diego is worse at home than they are on the road. They're
Yeah.
also a first-year team. Are they intimidated by this situation? Are they YOLO because they're in this situation? Think about the 1-4.
Yeah, listen, it's easy for us to say, hey, listen, everything is honey. They're playing with house money, but that's not them. I don't know that they have that mentality. They have a different mentality. They look like they're hungry. They look like, even though they're a new team, they have a lot of players who have been involved in do or die situations. Some of the guys that came from the, you know, the foundation or the organization that they have in Europe, and other players that have MLS experience. Chucky Lozano, will he play? Did he come out? I think he came out injured for Mexico. Is he in the doghouse with Mikey Varas? I don't know, but I don't worry about this San Diego team because of their inexperience in MLS. I worry about this San Diego team because they're playing a team that their style of play is gonna be like a ring in a finger. Like, like it's just gonna be. It's like, yeah, we want them. We don't want anyone else. We want San Diego because there's just no team in Major League Soccer that loves the ball more than they do, that are risky with it, even playing rondos inside their 18-yard box, which is wild. But at the same time, I love and I appreciate, and I wish more teams played that way. But Minnesota has to be very, very careful because you don't want to give them the ball too much because they will just grow in confidence. And they have game changers. They'll find the pockets, they'll find the spaces. And then once San Diego scores a goal, for Minnesota, it becomes difficult. I say that knowing that Seattle completely blew it. But I think that this is a good matchup for Minnesota. I'm not worried about San Diego's mentality. I'm just worried about just the style of both teams.
Then the marquee, the 2-3, Vancouver and LAFC.
Ah.
BC Place, if they could have sold another 20,000, they would have
It
done.
is so juicy. Like, that's so juicy. And this next thing, I don't know what this conference thing is gonna change to. I don't know what the standings or whatever is gonna look like. The player format is gonna look like over the next couple of years. But what I can tell you is that, oh man, isn't this like this is an MLS Cup final, and it's unfortunate that they're finding themselves in a semifinals of the conference because God, this match is so juicy. And listen, I'm not a gambling man, but if I were, this would be a tough one. This would be so tough.
Ain't touching this one with juice boxes at all. and let me check real quick before you get out of here. Let me check the juice boxes on this one and see. Like I said, I ain't touching it, and there's no chance I ever would, because I'm just going to sit back and enjoy this one.
That's right.
Of how chaotic it's going to be.
Yeah.
Friday, literally Saturday night football, and the home side is a plus 112. 90-minute draws a plus 252, and LAFC is a plus 212. A decided underdog on the road heading to BC Place.
Like, in what world do we live in that LAFC with Buanga and Son are underdogs? Isn't that crazy? But that's how tight this game is going to be. And well, listen, I'm not even going to go there. I would give LAFC a slight edge. And the reason why is because I don't know what Vancouver's defense is going to look like.
Yep. Oh, right at the end of the conversation, we lose the video signal. He's in LaGuardia Airport, by the way. And
What is Son up against? Do you know what I mean? I don't know that there's any defender in the league that can stop Son or Buanga in a 1v1.
And it's going to be a hot crowd. All right, as you get your luggage, cut the promo for me. What are you up to this weekend on Apple? Oh, he got coffee. Look at that. He got coffee, and he's ready to go. Hit the no, you're good. You're here. Oh, so come back in. All right. So let's see. Miguel, I think somebody tried to call his phone because you could tell he was He was dialed up on the phone, and I think somebody tried to call him, and that's what knocked him out, as he had his coffee in one hand and he had the device in the other hand. So that was where we were. So I think that's what happened. I think somebody tried to call Miguel Gallardo while he was on with us. And so you saw him had his coffee in one hand, the device in the other. So, of course, right at the end of the conversation, he was going with the plus 212 when it came to LAFC going up against Vancouver Whitecaps. So let's go through the juice boxes one more time. We'll see if Miguel can reconnect. Otherwise, we'll let him get his luggage, and we'll let him go to the studio space for everything on the Spanish language side for Apple TV on the weekend. So juice boxes, once again, MLS, Kaylor Hodges previewing the USL Championship, and all of that news is coming up just around the corner. Vancouver, a plus 112. 90-minute draws, a plus 252. LAFC is a plus 212. Sunday, 5 o'clock, so it's probably like 5:12. FC Cincinnati, Messi and Friends. FC Cincinnati is a plus 190. Messi and Friends are a plus 120. 90-minute draws, a plus 272. The fact that they are a 70 juice box difference there, that's big. 745, which I don't know if that means 757 or not, but we'll say 745-ish. It is Philadelphia at a minus 118. 90-minute draws, a plus 259. NYCFC is a plus 287. And Monday Night Football, 10 o'clock kick. So 10 o'clock listing, 10-12 kick in San Diego at the Murph Dragon. San Diego's a minus 164. 90-minute draws, a plus 309. Minnesota United is a plus 384. So if it's me, I'm probably looking at Vancouver. I'm looking at Messi and Friends. I'm looking at Philly because of the firepower that is not going to be there for NYC, and I'm looking at San Diego. I think San Diego gets it done. And literally, as we are talking, the number just plummeted to a minus 164. So that's where we are. I'm thinking Vancouver and San Diego. I think Vancouver and LAFC might go for a while, might be the 90-minute draw thing at a plus 252. And I'm thinking Messi and Friends in Philly for Thanksgiving weekend, and that will happen in that one. Just to remind you about next week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, normal. Thursday, no show because we want you to spend time with your family. Friday, we're going to have a show. So how long it's going to be, like I said, we'll come on at 9:05. We'll talk turkey. We'll talk Thanksgiving. We'll talk about Major League Soccer. We're going to be joined by one of our friends from MLS at 10 o'clock on Friday. So this time next week, minus 22 minutes, we'll have a guest from Apple TV and Major League Soccer. Kirk Reynolds is the man up there at MLS Soccer headquarters. He's been coordinating all of this stuff all season long. And it was great to have Miguel Gallardo drop in. Miguel, just so you know, the reason that I asked the questions about Orlando to start, studio and match analyst for Season Pass. He's on MLS 360, La Previa, and El Resumen. He was 5 years with the Purple Team when their local broadcast, so I'm sure that he and Evan Weston are on a first-name basis on ESPN Plus and on their local affiliate. Covered the 2019 Women's World Cup for Orlando Television, Florida Cup International Series before he was in broadcasting, 12 years as a keeper, Tigres in Liga Ascenso for the Purple Team and for Jacksonville Armada. So if that was where the name came in, then that was where Miguel Gallardo might be familiar to you. Once again, community ambassador for the Purple Team for the last 8 years. He's run soccer programs for kids in the inner city, clinics for different organizations like Easter Seals and Special Olympics. And that was why, with his relationship with the Purple Team, that's why I wanted to start the conversation with Miguel with the Purple Team and then getting into the playoffs and things like that. So I think he was leaning toward LAFC, especially at an underdog at a plus 212, and carrying it all the way through there. So you know my picks. You know how Miguel was breaking everything down. Miguel now has the key under the mat. He knows where the garage door opener is. And it was great to add him to the stacks this season with our friends at Apple TV Plus. Okay, it is that time where we talk about the USL Championship, because that's coming up. We talked to Michael Parkhurst about it at the end of the last hour with Rhode Island FC losing to Pittsburgh Riverhounds and KFC mentioning Robbie Mertz that was attached to it. Robbie Mertz, hometown kid, Yinzer through and through. And we'll get into that conversation with Kaylor Hodges here coming up in just a sec, but it's a preview of the USL Championship, FC Tulsa and Pittsburgh Riverhounds. There's been some news in and around the league as well, and some coaching updates across the board. So here's our conversation with Kaylor Hodges from the USL Show, at the USL Show, at Kaylor Hodges, where we break down the last game of the year in USL Championship. So, Kaylor, as you're getting ready for the USL Championship, when you look at this matchup, we've been talking about Pittsburgh finding offense since Bob Lilly has been on administrative leave. Tulsa just kind of seems to, FC Tulsa just seems to be doing their thing, and I don't know if it's because of where they are, if it's their Western Conference and we're based in the Eastern Conference. They just kind of quietly are going about their business in the West. What are you looking at with these two?
I mean, it's going to be a fascinating matchup because I don't know what to do with it a little bit, because what we saw out of FC Tulsa is probably the most dominant performance I have seen in a playoff game. And for full disclosure, before someone tries to get me with a gotcha, yes, I did watch Pittsburgh beat Birmingham back in 2019, 7-0 in the playoffs. I remember that. Wow. But that wasn't the conference final, where FC Tulsa put up almost 4 XG to New Mexico's half. And it was speculative efforts from New Mexico. They only got 1 shot on target all night long. And FC Tulsa just had them in the absolute ring cycle. It was stunning to watch, really, because every time that New Mexico would try to build out from the back, the press from Tulsa is one of the most efficient I've seen, forcing bad pass after bad pass after bad pass after bad pass after bad pass, which eventually leads to a bad pass, which makes its way to Keeler, who ends up getting the game-winning goal, technically, in a 3-0 win. And he almost takes too long. He has so much composure that he lets the defense get back into place, I guess, to make the shot harder for himself so he can feel something. I don't know. But it ends up being just such a dominant win. Meanwhile, on the other side, I mean, Pittsburgh was having to fight and claw through every little bit. And it looks like 0-0 going into halftime, and you say, oh, Lily ball or whatever strikes again. But it was really free-flowing match where you saw both attacks going at each other. It wasn't something bogged down in the midfield. It was a truly entertaining match where Coque Vegas came up several times huge. Eric Dick has a massive game, and it was a fun matchup overall. And you end up getting the hometown kid of Robbie Mertz, and you see him post-game crying like he has so much emotion for the first time that this Riverhounds team has made a conference championship, the first time they have won a conference championship, which means it's the first time they're in the USL final, and he's doing it for his hometown club. And it's not just, oh, he's from around Pittsburgh. Like, he is a proper Yinzer through and through. And it showed how much it meant to him. And then you end up getting Mark Ybarra working a little double agent. The former Pittsburgh man gets sent off on a second yellow. I do think it was a second yellow. I don't know about the first yellow, but the yellow that gets him sent off is definitely a yellow. So if you're already on a yellow, that you do the math.
Yeah.
And from there, honestly, Rhode Island might have been the better team. And a lot of that comes down to they bring on Clay Holstad and Zach Caravo, and they bring on Albert Dikwa. Now, Dikwa hasn't been starting lately, but Harivo has been, so has Holstad. And I'm looking at Connor Smith a little bit of, did you overthink this? Because what had been working all year long, he takes off the field of a midfield presence like a Harivo, like a Holstad. And the moment they come back on the pitch, it looks so much better. And it felt a little too late at that point. But not to mention, though, Eric Dick has an amazing game, making big save after big save, safe hands, too, not allowing second chances. It's just a fascinating matchup. Will Tulsa be able to break down this back line of Pittsburgh? Maybe. I think they can, just because they have not been shut out in a long time. A long time. Do we think that Pittsburgh is going to be able to score just more than one goal? We haven't seen it in a long time. If you were to ask me, do you trust Tulsa to score more than one or Pittsburgh to score more than one? That feels like it's an easy answer.
Yep.
But do you also trust Pittsburgh to let in 0 goals and only let 1 shot on target? You could easily see that happening out of this Pittsburgh team. I'm just fascinated.
15 shutouts on the season for Pittsburgh. and that is regular season and playoffs. 10 goals allowed in the first half of matches this season, fewest of any team in the USL Championship. So I see where you're coming from with the man between the sticks, the back line, and the defense for Pittsburgh, which has been one of Bob Lilly's tenets as far back as we can remember, that it's always been defense, defense, defense. And if your defense fails, then it's because of the defense and the players themselves, not because of the game plan that Bob Lilly had structured for you on any given day. Then Tulsa, 32 second half goals, which to me is unreal when it comes to minutes 46 through 90. And so you mentioned that pressure that is there over a full 90 minutes. I would think that as you're getting into those second halves, you're getting into that pressure, the opposition's getting tired, Tulsa's just putting pedal down, and you're creating all of those opportunities for FC Tulsa to get those 32 second half goals. I mean, it's an interesting dichotomy to your point where you're looking at the DNA of these clubs, but then the stats give themselves up to second half. It's period 90 minutes. It's not happening for Pittsburgh. Second half, it's really happening for Tulsa when you've really got to come up with the numbers.
Yeah, and when I'm looking at this Pittsburgh team specifically, the question that's going to be is, can they withstand the counter press? Are they going to be able to withstand the press from Tulsa? I mean, I have never seen a Sanchez team look so confused and befuddled like a New Mexico team.
Wow.
And it's not like we have experienced Bob Lilly on the sideline. This is Vincent. This is a new guy. Granted, he's been around for a long time. He has been a Pittsburgh Riverhound for as long as I can remember, through being a player, then being an academy coach, and now being the interim. Mm-hmm. But he's still a first-year coach. But so is Luke Spencer. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be really fascinating to see how two first-year coaches handle the big moment. Somebody's going to say, well, Luke Spencer was a player coach back in 2018 when Lou City won a championship, but not the same as it being your team. There's a little bit more freedom in being a player coach because no one expects the player coach to be as good as the real coach, right? Yeah. Now it's his team. If he overthinks this and goes with something that he's not used to, which he has been known to do this year, he has been known to tweak the tactics to fit whoever he's playing against. And there's a world where he might get in the lab a little too much and try to cook a little bit. Meanwhile, Vincent, not really. I don't get that. He has been very much like, hey, you guys know this 5-3-2 or 5-2-3. You guys know how to play it. You're fine. But we're going to let Danny Griffin do his thing in the midfield. We're going to let Robbie Mertz do his thing. We're going to tell Augie Williams to drop 20 yards deep and collect balls, because that's the difference for me. And I feel like that's why Pittsburgh is going to be able to withstand this pressure, because unlike New Mexico, Pittsburgh is not reliant on working up the wings. They can work up the wings, or they have an Augie Williams who is an out-and-out 9, one of the best we've ever seen. And he is dropping legitimately into the midfield and winning the balls back, being a big man in the midfield to get the ball. He is not just waiting for someone to lump it long and let him finish it. He is doing the dirty work in the midfield, and he still has that power of being a stand-up, hold the ball up player, which I think might bode well for Pittsburgh in this situation.
I looked at the number and it was staggering. We've been talking about defense and we've been talking about keepers and shutouts and everything. Right now, Luke Spencer's bunch have gone, I'm trying to, it's what, more than 6.5 matches without giving up a goal. 603 minutes. That is 6. So 90 and 6 is 540. And so 540, so that's 63. So go back to the 27th minute of a matchup 7 matches ago in the regular season, and that was the last time that FC Tulsa gave up a goal. Do you remember the match that I'm talking about?
7.5 weeks ago. Gosh, what month were we in? That would have been September?
September, yeah. Early September.
FC Tulsa, who did they play in September? My first thought was immediately, I'm going to say maybe El Paso. I think I'm remembering an El Paso goal.
Somebody else, and they're fairly close to you and your base of operations.
Birmingham, really?
September the 6th, Birmingham Legion, the last goal that they gave up 603 minutes ago.
Massive club. What can I say?
Yes, FC Tulsa is a massive club. Absolutely true.
Yeah,
It's
let us
just
in the college football playoff. That's how this works, right?
yes, FC Tulsa would be the 12, and they go in and go up against Texas Tech. I know how this plays. It's stunning to me when you see a number like that with everything that we've been talking about with this offense and with what we've seen from FC Tulsa, that it was September the 6th against Birmingham Legion the last time they gave up a goal is stunning to me.
And that's with different keepers.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Derrick's the one in goal right now, not Peñaranda, who's been their reliable keeper all year long. This has been with the goalkeeper change. This has also been with the center back change, with Sissoko finding himself on the bench, which, by the way, for most of the year has been my defender of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And he finds himself on the bench because of Ian coming in. There's been changes to this back line, and it's worked out for the positive. Extremely positive. That said, Peñaranda was in net for the very first playoff game. He's not back in there recently, and one would assume that Tyler Derrick is going to be the one in net for the final as they've gone through most of this playoff run with him. But they've had changes. It's not like this has been this kind of group all year long. They've been good. They've been good defensively, but they haven't been this defensively. They have just found it, and part of that is One Oak is truly a fortress right now. Okay. They pulled almost 10,000 people for the final. They had 9,180 for the 918 for their area code, which is cool.
Well, what do you want to bet that even though they might have had more than 9180, they just kept it at 9180 as your reported figure, so you have your 918.
I mean, yeah, they're getting into standing concourse only area right now for the final, which they can't really track. Like, they can't track how many people are there, but it's not like
that's what the fire marshal in Tulsa is all about, man. He's the most important person at One Oak.
The fire marshal is going to have a field day at 11 o'clock local time. Absolute field day.
Brunch in Tulsa. I mean, it's a Saturday noon Eastern kick, so probably in the neighborhood of 6 minutes after the hour. So 12:06 Eastern, 11:06-ish. On Big CBS, I believe, on Saturday. So it's brunch in Tulsa. Right now, the juice boxes have it as obviously FC Tulsa favorite at a plus 114. 90-minute draws a plus 120 and at 190, and your Pittsburgh pick to win in 90 minutes is a plus 222. So are you looking at that plus 114 and not moving off of that?
On the USL show on Tuesday, I reluctantly picked Pittsburgh in penalties.
Really? So you're going with that plus 190. Okay.
I am, but it's because I think this is going to make its way to penalties on a 1-1 draw.
Okay.
I think that Pittsburgh is going to get a goal early. I think they're going to shut up shop, but Tulsa is going to fight their way back. I think you're going to have a nervy extra time, or it could even be 0-0 into it going into extra time. Pittsburgh gets one. Tulsa sends everything at the and everything with the kitchen sink.
Wow.
Find our way into penalties. Where if I'm looking at Eric Dick versus Tyler Derrick, I'm going to lean Eric Dick slightly, but Tyler Derrick has been around for a long, long time, and he is a proven goalkeeper. Mm-hmm. But that's where I was leaning. However, I think my good friend Ryan Allen on the USL show mentioned that there's only been 3 matches in the USL finals since they have gone to the championship that have gone to extra time in general. Mm-hmm. So it's not a common thing that you're going to see. So I see a lot of people taking a Tulsa 2-0 or taking them a 1-0. And I can absolutely see that happening. I think this is a true coin flip of a match where even if the result ends 2-0, it'd be they got a goal in the 60th, and then Pittsburgh sends everything at Tulsa, and they get a scrappy 93rd minute. We sent everything at you, breakaway goal. Yeah. This feels like it's going to be an absolute battle for all 90 or possibly 120.
Okay. News and notes before we get out of here and before you head to Tulsa for the championship and get to come back and tell us about it next week. News and notes from the league. USL Championship Young Player of the Year goes to Loudoun's Abdelatif Abukura. Was that the right vote?
Yeah. Full transparency, my vote went to local Rami Zamuda. Just because I never actually, and I'm sure there are stipulations, and I'm bad at reading, and Nicholas Murray, don't take away my media credential, but I'd never know what young player, like what age is young player, because there are some players who are 23 that have been around since like 2016, like Abukora. It feels like he's been around the league forever, but he's still young. But it's one of those situations where he's still young. I think that is the right call. I mean, Abdelatif Abukora absolutely deserves to be in that conversation. I think the bigger crime here is that he was on the second team all league. He was one of the best 11 all year long.
And speaking of Loudoun, probably one of the least surprising things ever in the history of ever. The coach that used to be at Loudoun is now the coach, or going to be the coach, for Oakland Roots. So Ryan goes from east to west. And for Oakland, as they continue to grow, they didn't renew the contract of Benny Feilhaber after the season was over. Ryan Martin goes in. This sounds like a home run hire across the board.
Good job with the Coliseum. Thank you.
Mausoleum, baby. It's look, as long as the raccoons stay away from the press box, then everything's fine.
I feel like I've been teasing this one on the show for a while, between saying, oh, they didn't bring back Benny Feilhaber, they have someone in the wings waiting. Oh, you'll hear about it soon. And everybody kind of knew that Ryan Martin was available, even though Loudoun said he wasn't. He was. By the way, Alan Marcina is a scouting director at Loudoun United. I'm sure there is no plans for him to move up into the coaching position at all. Anyway, but no, this is an absolute slam dunk. Absolute slam dunk. They have made a lot of great moves with coaching. They just like to move on from coaches fast. But when you consider the fact that this is the best coach they have had at this point since Wangera, who got transferred to Phoenix. Phoenix paid real world money for him so he could go over there. And now he's with the Houston Dynamo as an assistant coach. He's with Venezuela's national team as a coach. That's a real deal coach that they had there, and he's the best one they've had since then. On top of that, you're about to see a lot of players for Loudoun who are going to be available for free. And Oakland's not afraid to spend some money. They are not afraid to spend money. You're about to see good players go to Oakland, because we all remember the article that came out about Loudoun earlier this year. Meanwhile, Oakland has arguably the best training facility in this league. They are working with the Raiders' former facility, which millionaire money versus billionaire money, that's a much different training facility. Oakland is sitting in an absolute hotbed right now. They are the next gym ready to shine, especially with Ryan Martin. If they give him the Ben Pierman treatment of, here's the checkbook, here's the plan, lay down the dream, and we'll make it happen, Oakland is going to be a powerhouse soon.
And maybe you might want to kick the tires on some players from El Farolito from the NPSL and perhaps give them a tryout just to kind of see what's going on. Local, I'm just saying.
I mean, that's what they're about. They are the rooted in Oakland. Like, they truly believe that they are rooted there. And they are all about promoting with Project 510. They have their own academy set up. They're promoting from within. They've had 5 players who come through 510 make appearances. I think 3 of them have 10 plus. Like, they are serious about promoting from within and promoting local, that you're going to see a real deal influx in Oakland, especially as they are one of the 2 gigs in town, the other one being NWSL. And I think, is the Bay in San Francisco, or are they actually in Oakland?
Bay is San Jose. They play at PayPal Park.
Okay. So they're still the only gig in town. And everybody knows it. And they are, again, sitting on something that can truly become special very soon.
And as I wander back here in the studio space, I'm going to pull something off of one of the doors, just as a reminder, just as a reminder. Perhaps maybe we should go and check some folks out. I'm just saying, just as a little helpful hint, maybe. Just kind of knock on the door of the folks at the NPSL who make deep runs every single year, it seems, in the NPSL championships. So I'm just saying, just a little food for thought. One other coaching note before we get out of here. Switchbacks have their man, and Alan McCann was a poet. Didn't know it.
I'm confused. I just don't get it. They get rid of the coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
Chambers was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And you think, you don't fire somebody without having the plan in place. And the plan was internal. Where this is not me saying anything. I legitimately have no smoke here. This Colorado Springs runs one of the more quiet organizations. Not a lot of stuff gets out of there.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be something that happened internally between front office and Chambers and co. for them to get rid of him and then just hire from within. Because you don't do that unless you're certain you're getting someone like a Ryan Martin, maybe a Benny Philauber if you're a believer in him, a John Bradford who just became available and is one of the best coaches available. It's him and Ryan Martin on who are the best available left.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the plan is there. Either they absolutely love McGann or something crazy happened internally. I don't know.
Okay. Previously served as technical director and assistant coach for part of 2024. And so now he is the man who is in charge. All right. As you head to Tulsa for the USL Championship, what are the coverage plans for at the USL show, sir?
Kind of just waiting to see a little bit right now. We're trying to figure out where we can do some pre and post game. Right now we're planning to go around to some of the different mimosa tailgates that are happening. This is all assuming that I wake up at 7 a.m. when they're supposed to be doing that, because I think I'm getting in town at 3. But anyway, and then go into the game, going to enjoy it. Post game, we're going to go live. Everybody can find all the stuff there, but it's going to be a lot of just filmed content of what's going on around the stadium post game. It's going to be a blast. Apparently Pittsburgh has a full bus load coming full of their fans all the way from Pittsburgh. They're going to get off the bus that morning and just wander into the stadium, which you might see the most delirious group of fans of all time, which may be fun. I don't know. I'm stoked to see how that's going to play out.
As a delirious host, you were going to meet up with delirious fans. It might be a fun conversation.
Yeah. I mean, none of us are going to know what each other are talking about. We're just going to be in different headspaces. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to have a little bit of coffee. Maybe they sneak something in it to freshen the brain or, dilute it a little bit, whichever one.
Just thinking. As always, Kaylor at Kaylor Hodges at the USL show. We will catch up with you at the next week when we have a champion in the USL Championship. We'll go through all the other awards, coaching changes, things to look out for as we get ready for 2026 because it's coming up just around the corner. As always, my friend, just look, safe travels, have fun, get a lot of content, go crush it, and we'll catch up with you next week. It's always a blast to see you.
See you soon.
Kaylor Hodges from the USL show. And obviously it's going to be a big weekend when it comes to everything going on in USL Championship. Kaylor is going to be covering it with our friends at the USL show. He's going to drop back next week to put a bow on the season and get us ready for 2026. All right. We know we're going long because we got stuff to talk about. We got games this weekend overseas. We got to tell you what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. We got the college game to get into. And we've also got let's see, what do we have? We got the Premier League, the PSR notes, the Celtic AGM this morning. Charlotte has their decisions on their roster. And so those are a couple of topics that we have. I anticipate that we're going to go past the 2-hour mark. And like I said, I know that you're surprised. We are waiting on our buddy Nino Torres to come in because he literally was like, I got something to report. So we're waiting on Nino to look at things going on in Peru because it is a breaking story involving promotion, relegation, and who is in, who is not, what the point system looks like, and rulings from on high. And so Nino's going to come in and he's going to give us context about what's going on. It is rare that he literally calls me up and he's like, can I come in and crash? And so we're waiting for Nino to hop in to kind of break everything down, because it is a story in the league itself, and it has greater repercussions than just, okay, somebody won, somebody lost. There's legal anticipation that's going to be happening. And so it's about a match that happened, teams relegated, teams not getting relegated, who's getting relegated, are they not, all the things. Okay. And so that's what we're staring at here with our buddy Nino Torres. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Nino in quickly, and he can break it all down for you. So as I told everybody, I said it is rare that you will knock on the door and sit there and go, hey, dude, can I come in and crash? And I know that this is big stuff going on. So if you would, break it down from the beginning and walk us through it, because you're the one that's smart here. We're just getting smart behind you. So break the whole thing down and walk us through it.
Okay, this right. Ayacucho FC and Binacional were two teams from the top flight division in Peru. But both teams, they presented, they went to court to the local courts to present a case against the Peruvian Peruvian Federation. Okay, and they won their cases, so they got back into the top flight division because of a court order, from a local court order. So, but then the Peruvian Federation appealed the case, and they won the case against Binacional. So Binacional got relegated a month ago. Mm-hmm. Okay, and Ayacucho Ayacucho FC stayed, and they were wondering, so how are we gonna take these guys down, because they present their case, and we cannot win that case. So this is what happened last week. Ayacucho FC was playing against Comerciantes Unidos. They were winning the game 2-0, and they've got a few issues on the outside the pitch. So the people were throwing stuff to the pitch, and the referee said, one more and I'm going to suspend the game. Okay, there was a minute 94th.
Yep.
30 seconds to go. Referee says, you know what, we're stopping the game, we're suspending the game. What are you talking about? There's 30 seconds to go. 30 seconds. Okay, no, I'm going to suspend the game. So they talked to both teams, and the things were calming down. So Ayacucho returned to the pitch. We want to play the last 30 seconds or 45 seconds left on the clock.
Right.
But the other team didn't come back to the pitch. Right? Okay. So I was suspended again. Yesterday, the disciplinary committee of the Peruvian Liga Uno determined that Ayacucho lost the game. They gave it 3 points and 3 goals to Comerciantes Unidos.
Like a forfeit.
Okay. And this sends not automatically sends down Ayacucho FC, but they're really complicating their chances to stay in the top flight division. But that's not the thing. This is not the only thing here. Juan Pablo II, JP College team, which belongs to the president of the Peruvian Soccer Federation, gets directly favored by this decision, because they are, if you look at the table, 14 points for Ayacucho, 14 points for Juan Pablo II. So by with these 3 points, they're setting up Ayacucho to failure. Okay, and now after that, Ayacucho FC, they're suing the referee, Diego Aro. They're suing the referee because this is a criminal act. That's what they're saying. So there's a suing case. It's a lawsuiting process, and everybody's looking into it to go to the Court of Arbitrations to see if they can win their case. But my contention here is that they probably win, and it will be again in another next year, because we already got set up the teams that were promoted to the second division, to the fourth division. We got 2 teams, but now Ayacucho, who is in the limbo now, because they're going to keep fighting for this. All right. And most likely, I think that if you go to the Court of Arbitrations, Court of Arbitrations is going to say, you suspended the game in 94 minutes, and you give it away to the other guys. And this No, we're not give it to Ayacucho. So most likely we're gonna have an uneven number of teams next year because I think Ayacucho is gonna come back. But this is the I witnessed many crook acts here in Peru, right? But this is the most. And I'm so pissed, man. I'm so pissed, man. I just want to let it out. I wanted the world to know what's happening, because here in Peru, everybody knows, right? But I wanted to share this to the world. But it needs to be communicated to everyone, man. What's happening here?
The Clausura, the way that it stands right now, the Clausura standings, because of Binacional being relegated by the Fed, it's like they weren't even allowed to play in the Clausura at all.
Right.
Right now, the standings, as you're heading into, and some teams have played all 17 matches in the Clausura. Not everyone has. You still got some that have 2 matches to play. Here's how it is from the bottom up. Cajamarca's at 13 points. Alianza Huánuco is at 14. They are behind both Ayacucho and Juan Pablo II on goal difference. The 3 of them are at 14 points.
Yeah.
Sport Boys are at 16. Grau is at 16. So that's what you're staring at. You're looking at 13 through 18 separated by, 13 through 18, 6 teams separated by 3 points heading into the tail end of the schedule here in the Clausura. So to recap, I want to make sure that this is the correct layout. Disciplinary Committee of the Peruvian Football Federation decides on the outcome of Ayacucho and Comerciantes Unidos, which had been suspended. Committee awards the 3-0 win to Ayacucho. Basically, it's a forfeit. They say it's a forfeit because you didn't pop back out on the field when we told you. And so Comerciantes Unidos was leading 1-0 on the 90th. And so now the club issues a statement defending their rights and sporting principles in the Clausura. They said in their statement, we were notified of the resolution, a big number, issued by the DISCO of the Peruvian Football Federation, which declares the claims presented by Ayacucho to be rejected and tendentiously accepts all the claims of Comerciantes Unidos, applying exorbitant fines to us. In addition to the decision
there's
that was
a
there.
couple that is 30 is like how much is it? It's like $20,000 or so.
Yeah, it's like it's 5,350. So it's a 30 UIT was how it was, and so it's a big fine that was also issued as well. Ayacucho says the resolution is arbitrary, disproportionate, and lacks respect for fundamental constitutional rights such as due process, sufficient justification, and I mean by that word that the judicial process, and the principle of proportionality in sanctions. Ayacucho also argues the decision ignores established facts, fails to consider the evidence presented, and violates essential principles of federative and constitutional law, end quote. In response, the institution is immediately going to file an appeal with the FPF Appeals Committee, seeking to defend itself against, quote, the abuse of power by those representing the FPF, which is what you got into as a part of your explanation. And this way, they're going to exhaust all avenues to try to make this happen. The club filed a criminal complaint against Diego Haro, the man in the middle, the referee that you were talking about.
Yep.
Against Comerciantes Unidos and the one responsible for writing the ref report. Furthermore, according to Depor.com, it was Haro who ordered the suspension of the match at Las Americas after the objects were thrown from the West Stand, as you referred to. Then, once again, in the supporting document, they say they filed a formal complaint against Haro and the refereeing team for the crime of usurpation of public office, which occurred at Las Americas in the match. We will pursue this to the fullest extent.
Right.
Could be developments in the coming days, according to Depor. Match day 19 could be decisive for Ayacucho, sitting in the top flight. Following the DISCO ruling, the 3-0 loss to Comerciantes, they're in 17th, 29 points, 3 points behind UTC in 16th. Obligated to win on the final match day, where they will visit Cienciano. And Cienciano right now in the cumulative is in 10th place, so they're fine. Yeah. And Cienciano in the Clausura is in 7th. So once again, they're far and away. They're in good shape heading into the last little bit. Meanwhile, the Northern Hawk visit Alianza Lima, given that the latter need to win to have a chance at the playoffs for the Peruvian dose spot. So did I miss anything in background in addition to what you were discussing?
No, everything is covered on that report. And man, Johnny, this is wild, man. This is absolutely wild. I mean, we all know, right, that the president of the Peruvian Soccer Federation is a crook, All right, he is a crook, and I'm not afraid to say this because he has he had like I don't know how many lawsuits he has pending. Okay, and they escaped the last time around. They escaped because the charges. This is why he's not in jail right now. This is why Agustin Lozano is not in jail right now, because they found a loophole. Okay, they found a loophole here because the accusations were intended to a criminal organization, right? But in order to that lawsuit to go through, it has to be charged as a group, all right? So they defend an individual. No, I'm not part of it. You're not part of this. So all the members that were accused as a group. That then they determined by the lawyers that there's no correlation between the pieces, so they can escape. They can until that's settled, they're free. And who knows when it's going to happen? But he should be in jail right now. He should be in jail right now. Okay, and a case that he went through was the for tickets, right? He got tickets. He got a organization in there that they found him guilty for that. So because the FIFA awards tickets to him, all right, and he sold them. He sold all these tickets. They were free tickets. He sold them. You know, and that's a proof case. He should not be. He should not be there right now.
Mm-hmm.
He should not be there right now. Okay, so we'll keep you in touch. We'll keep you in the loop. I'm pretty sure next week, the upcoming weeks, they're gonna be busy here in Peru. So I'm gonna keep you posted, guys. But I just wanted to let you know this because it's crucial for me. And
no doubt, it's something that you are front and center at and keeping an eye on and making sure that everybody knows about these kinds of things down there. And like I said, when you literally you messaged me to come in, I'm like, okay. This is yeah. I'm like, well, all right, but no. As always, you have an open door. So as the story continues to grow, let us know what you know. Let us know what's going on, and we'll keep an eye on things, especially after the matches this weekend and the next round and all this kind of stuff. Because once the Clausura is complete, then you know that folks are going to have another round of yelling at each other because of if teams are in the relegation zone. If they're not. The folks that are in the relegation zone are going to be mad about the folks who aren't, and the folks who aren't are going to try to make sure that they're not going to get relegated and go down to Liga Dos. Am I square on that?
That's right. That's the right call, Johnny.
Just check. So because you are at the forefront of this, I'm going to say this: just be safe, sir. Be safe, and I mean that literally. Be safe, please. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. No worries, man.
All right,
just try to keep my my adrenaline in place.
Yes, so just stay even keeled and stay cool, and let us know what's going on. Just be safe, and like I said, that you can pop back in, and we'll continue to talk about this as it develops, and that we'll catch up with you Wednesday or Friday for real. When are we doing, Wednesday or Friday? Since
just let me know, and I'll jump in, man. I'll be ready.
Good deal. All right. Love you very much. Just be safe, please. And thanks for dropping in on some massively important stuff going on in your home country. Be safe, my friend. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Johnny. Take care, guys.
All right. That's Nino Torres from GOLTV. Like I said, it is rare. It is exceedingly rare. And I can count on one finger the amount of times that Nino has come in to say, hey, I got a breaker. Can I come in? Literally, it was that many times, and it was today. So that's where we are. So keep an eye on, and that's what we do here. We keep an eye on things around the planet. And when we have someone like Nino come in and sit there, and it's like, there's something going on that you need to know about when it comes to officials and federations and relegation and end of schedule and promotion and who's attached and all the players. The fact that we have the space that we have gives us the ability to go at length to discuss these topics. And that's why when Nino came in to let you know about the breaking news, that's why I wanted to go back and add the context to the entire situation to let you know where things stand in this particular country with their number one league and teams and all the players and all that kind of stuff. And what I mean by that is those in power and influence. Okay, so that's where we are. Put a bookmark in that. Nino's going to join us next week, and we'll break everything down there, and we'll have the discussions as we continue on a holiday week up here in the U.S. Okay, we've got to get into some things that are going on around the planet, and it will be we're going to start with what's going on in the Premier League. And there's some other news here in the lower divisions we'll get into. So this morning, and Jason got into it a bit in the morning espresso. So the Premier League is going away, and this will be our conversation with Jason Stevens next week as we go through what happened here, because he mentioned this was going to happen. He thought it was going to happen at the end of the week and by the next time that we were going to catch up and find out about the economics of soccer. Premier League clubs have voted to overhaul the financial regulations from the start of next year, 26-27. Shareholders meeting in London this morning, known as a top-to-bottom anchoring, squad cost ratio, and sustainability and system resilience, because right now it's profit and sustainability. PSR is what they have. This morning they discussed bottom anchoring, squad cost ratio, and sustainability and system resilience, SSR. So once again, Jason comes in early next week. We'll go about this more in depth, but this is the greatest hits. Anchoring voted on first, but only got 7 votes in favor. Clubs voted on SCR, passed 14-6. Bournemouth, Brighton, Brentford, Crystal Palace, Fulham, and Leeds voted against. SSR passed unanimously. Threshold of 14 of 20 is needed in voting for in favor of a proposal required to change Premier League rules. SCR, meaning the squad cost ratio. And like I said, this is alphabet soup, and we'll sort it out once again next week. But a little bit in the morning espresso with Jason. We'll go a little bit more in depth here. So squad cost ratio is replacing the league's current profit and sustainability rules, which limit losses to a maximum of $137 million or 105 million pounds over a 3-year period. This season is the last under those regulations. So SCR, here's how it's going to work, according to Chris Witherspoon at The Athletic. Similarly to the SCR regime operated by UEFA, 9 Premier League clubs needed to adhere to already this year. SCR covers a year of activity, except for player sales. Premier League SCR assessed across a season. UEFA does it on an annual January to December. They do it calendar. Premier League will do it season beginning to season end. SCR puts a direct limit on how much clubs can spend on their players and head coach, albeit one, which is linked to a given club's revenue. In other words, the amount able to spend under squad cost ratio will differ from club to club. And you can understand why the smaller clubs voted against it, because their revenue does not match the larger named clubs, the larger revenue clubs in the Premier League. So as an example, squad cost ratio for Brighton was at 49%. They were the lowest. Bournemouth is at 104%. They're the green threshold in the Premier League, and it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 85% is the green threshold. The UEFA limit is 70%. So the UEFA limit means that 3, 6, 9, 12 teams exceeded UEFA limits when it came to squad cost ratios. So they would have to trim their budgets and their spending by, if you were Bournemouth, as much as a third if you were to successfully be integrated into UEFA and be in good standing. Fulham at 91%, Leeds at 88%, Nottingham Forest and Villa 87 and 86%, Wolves at 81%, Newcastle 78%, Crystal Palace, Everton 77%, Chelsea at 76%, Burnley 73%, Brentford at 71%. The UEFA threshold is at 70%. Costs assessed under SCR include player and head coach wages, agent fees, and the amortization or impairment when a club writes down a player's value in the books of transfer fees. And a continuation of the old PSR, costs relating to women's teams and youth academies are excluded. To allow for swift punishment, clubs will undergo an SCR compliance test each March 1. If their squad cost is equal to or less than 85%, they will be deemed compliant. If they exceed that level, they'll be subject to an accounts confirmation test at the end of June. The red and green thresholds that we talked about. 85% limit, the green threshold. Beginning of each season, clubs in the Premier League will agree on an estimated football revenues from which their 85% spending limit will be derived. 30% higher is set up to 30%. That's your red threshold to 115%. No one was there. Bournemouth was 10% close. Clubs will be able to spend above their green threshold without incurring a sanction, provided they don't exceed their red threshold. If they exceed the latter, sporting punishments will follow. So that would mean that Bournemouth would be sanctioned for going over the red threshold. Or actually, no, actually, I take that back. They would be closest, too. They're 10% away. So 115% would be Bournemouth, red threshold. Everybody was okay. You had 5 that were north of the green threshold. No one had made it to the red threshold. So you had those 5 clubs that would be looking at a review, but no one was at the red threshold. I feel like I'm in an airport concourse now. So it's a way that has been made way more complex. We'll get into it on Monday. But your requested required reading is going to be the article at The Athletic about it. And also Kieran McGuire, who we know that is a sports economist, he said that it's a great day for the sport if you are a creative bookkeeper. And so I think that once again, no matter what the rules are, you're always going to have that bit of creative bookkeeping. And so that's kind of where it is with right now with the SCR, squad cost ratio, and all those things. Like I said, we'll get into it. Jason Stevens will probably end up spending most of our time about it on Tuesday airing with Jason. So that's your requested required reading. It's going to be a lot of math, but just know that, once again, that's the new rules of engagement in the Premier League. Don't be surprised if, say, the clubs that are below their threshold or at the threshold that get that first test will come up creatively and sit there and go, yeah, we're fine. And then the Premier League will sit there and go, yeah, we're fine. So that's what you're staring at there as well. Okay. Also on the board this morning, just quickly, Chattanooga FC has re-signed Eldin Jakupovic, and that's not really a surprise of anything and everything going on attached to Chattanooga FC. So they've been signing players. And Chattanooga FC is back with Eldin Jakupovic between the sticks next year at the age of 42, I believe, during the season. And so he'll be between the sticks for Chattanooga FC. What else? Okay, since we're overseas, let me talk about the Celtic meeting this morning. And Celtic had a big shareholders meeting this morning, and it didn't go well. So let me get into that quickly. The AGM was abandoned after 25 minutes. Ewan Murray at The Guardian. Supporters heckled the board members. Red cards were shown. Boos were heard amid shareholder anger. And Dermot Desmond's son, Ross, decided that the best thing to do would be to hit out at the fans he called shameful. If I'm Wilfred Nancy, I'm not going to Celtic. As much as we would love for it to happen, and we know that he would kick some serious ass, if I'm Wilfred Nancy, I'm not going to Celtic now. Annual general meeting abandoned after only 25 minutes. Celtic shareholders, unhappy with the way the club are being managed, held up red cards, booed and chanted, "Sack the board," as the directors had arrived. A half-hour adjournment was called, after which pre-recorded interviews were shown. Ross Desmond, the son of Celtic's principal shareholder Dermot Desmond, read out a statement that criticized supporters for their treatment of the leadership. Our board, led by Peter Lawwell, and our executive, led by Michael Nicholson, are dedicated Celtic people, said Desmond Jr. Quote, "The attempts to dehumanize them and vilify them are shameful." I don't think this is the way to win friends and influence people. They love the club as much as anyone here, and they've suffered just as much as anyone. They work tirelessly and often under intense pressure. They do an outstanding job at this club, and we're very lucky to have them, end quote. There were more protests. Before any formal resolution or Q&A could be heard, the meeting was closed. Club now have the option to complete necessary business in private. A perceived lack of serious communication from the club is one key point of annoyance for supporters, according to the article in The Guardian. And then Celtic came out with another statement. Regrettably, due to the continuing disruptive conduct of a small number of individuals preventing the orderly management of today's AGM, we were required to conclude the meeting earlier than we had planned. Such conduct is completely unacceptable, hugely disappointing. While today's events are completely out with our control, clearly we regret the impact on our shareholders who were deprived of the opportunity to take part in an orderly and constructive meeting. Celtic has been widely criticized for their approach to the summer transfer window. Brendan Rodgers resigned. Dermot Desmond used the website to launch an attack on Brendan Rodgers. You'll remember we talked about that, where It was a back and forth between, not to each other, mind you, but through the media, where Brendan Rodgers would say something, Dermot Desmond comes out, says something on the website for Celtic, and Martin O'Neill ends up as your caretaker manager for the moment. Wilfred Nancy, clear favorite to succeed, but the delay in hiring a manager is merely adding to the anger. Celtic trail Hearts by 7 points in the Premiership, game in hand, travel to St. Mirren Saturday night. So that's what happened this morning when fans started chanting, sack the board. Well, we're not going to have a meeting then. You want to sack us, we're not going to have a meeting. So they didn't have a meeting. Also, Charlotte FC has mentioned their off-season or out-of-season roster decisions. And here is what Charlotte has put on the table this morning. And, we haven't even discussed the schedule coming out in Major League Soccer. I guess we can do that on Monday. We haven't even talked about the schedule coming out for Major League Soccer in Atlanta United. Charlotte, by the way, Zoran Krneta has signed a new multi-year deal, so he's in. David Tepper had a quote, Zoran Krneta is staying. So Z-Man is staying as your GM. Now, they've announced the roster decisions for 2026. Here's what Charlotte has put on the table. Exercised options on Drake Callender, Jibril Diani, and Tiger Smalls. Declined options on Jelani Forbes, Nick Scardina, Bill Tuiloma. Wilfred Zaha, Pep Biel triggered performance-based options during the 25 season. Zaha's loan has extended to June 30 of 26. Biel's going to join Charlotte on a permanent transfer at the conclusion of his loan. Melanda, who was transferred to Middlesbrough, loaned back to Charlotte, is going to go back to Middlesbrough. Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy's loan did not include an option, and he's going to return to CF Montreal. David Bingham, Eric Williamson, out of contract, eligible for free agency. Brandon Cambridge and the club are ongoing discussions about his future. Charlotte retains an option on the forward for the 26th season. So now you have 4 keepers, if you're Charlotte, Callender, Holiday, Kalina, and Shatura Odunzi. 6 defenders, Byrne, Neely, Privet, Ream, Micah Thomas, and Harry Toffolo. 7 midfielders, Biel, Bronico, Koulibaly, Diani, Petkovic, Romero, and Ashley Westwood. Forwards, Berkimas, Abada, Goodwin, Smalls, Toklamati, Vargas, and Zaha. Brent Bronico has signed a new deal, by the way. So that's what you've got. You have 24 in camp under contract right now for the 26 season in Major League Soccer. Drake Callender, by the way, 2 of the 4, one of the 4 keepers that is there. I mean, seriously. In 2025, he was injured for Messi and friends. They bring in both Oscar Ustari and Rocco Rios Novo. Drake Callender would make his debut coming on as a late sub in March. That's it. 92 appearances from 2020 to 25 for Messi and friends. But he was shifted to Charlotte. He was shifted to Charlotte and didn't play a lick. Did not play a lick. So the question is, for Drake Callender, does Zoran Krneta, the general manager, and Dean Smith, the head coach, why are you hanging on to a 1 and truly a 1B? When he's healthy, Drake Callender is a 1 in this league. So is there something that we don't know that we need to know about here? Christian Kalina, 32 starts, 2,880 minutes, 12 clean sheets, 44 goals allowed. So it was a goals against of about 1 1/3. 129 saves in 32 matches. David Bingham had 2 starts. 180 minutes, 1 clean sheet, 2 goals allowed. So a goals against of 1. 9 saves in 2 matches, 77% passing. And if you go down the list and you're trying to find individual statistics involving Drake Callender for Charlotte FC, you will not find them. You will not find Drake Callender stats attached to Charlotte FC. Admittedly, he was injured for a part of that. So you end up with a situation now in Charlotte at the keeper spot. And obviously in the offseason, we'll catch up with Will Pelagic, play-by-play voice for Charlotte FC. But you look at this and you literally you've got two number ones. The last 5 matches, here, the 2025 MLS stats for Drake Callender. 2 starts, 1 sub, 7 saves, 5 goals against. And honestly, that is within the calendar year. Started on March 29th, right? He came in as a sub on March 29th. April 6th, he started. 2 saves, 1 goal against in a 1-1 draw. And then was there for the 4-3 craziness. April 27th against Dallas, it was a 4-3 win for FCD. That literally is his last 5 matches in Major League Soccer. Nothing happened this season in Charlotte for Drake Callender. Nothing. Miami got GAM for Callender back on August 19th. 400,000 in 2025 GAM, 350 in 2026 GAM. Initially joined Messi and Friends December 2019. Played for Messi and Friends too. You'll remember that. Debuting, becoming the starting keeper for the first team in 2022. Statement from Cornetta at the time when he was transferred to Charlotte. Drake joins our squad with 3+ years of MLS experience, entering a great stage for goalkeeper development. His MLS experience and recent national team call-ups making him a key piece to help strengthen our goalkeeping core as we continue to build the strongest squad possible for the run-in, but also an eye toward the future. Efforts in 22 propelled him to become a finalist for Goalkeeper of the Year, 92 regular season MLS appearances, only 3 in 2025 for Messi and Friends. Was on the sidelines, suffering an injury playing with the U.S. men's national team in January. Then once again, that was before he lost his starting gig to Ustari. And so Ustari came in, Rocco Rios Novo was there, Drake Callender was injured, and he got dealt August 19th. Did not play a match for Charlotte FC. But the quote from Cornetta at the time that he was picked up is key. Do they know something? Are they going to use Kalina as an asset going forward? MLS experience, recent national team call-ups make him a key piece to help strengthen the goalkeeping core as we continue to build the strongest squad possible for the run-in, but also an eye toward the future. That last part, but also an eye towards the future. That is the part that I'm staring at here. Do they know something about Christian Kalina that we don't, or that we can look at and think is going on? It may be, we don't know. So keep an eye on that. And Energetic Postmaster 0 is going to get blocked and is going to get reported. Energetic Postmaster. I know some energetic postmasters, and they're not bots on Twitch. We'll get into what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it here in just a second. Now, we've also got to get into, once again, the NCAAs. We mentioned earlier this morning about Ohio State and them knocking off Notre Dame. So that was big in the college ranks. So we'll get into the college, we'll get into NAIA, all that kind of stuff. We'll get into that here in a second. Let me check my list real quick, see if I missed anything. PSR, the Celtic meeting, Drake Callender. Bielsa, Ohio State women's soccer. I think we're in good shape when it comes to all those other things. All right. What to watch, how to watch it, where to watch it. Where to watch it, how to watch it. We had a couple of golden goals. We'll get into that in a second. All right, so today, you've obviously got the NCAA tournament. Everybody's getting back to club play. NCAA tournament, you can watch that at NCAA.com and on ESPN+. Polish League is on at the top of the hour on BN. Ligue 1 is on at 2:45 with Nice and Marseille. You can get that at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps them out, helps us out, and it gets you to watch anything and everything to add more leagues to what you've been watching in the past. FS2, the quarterfinals of the U17 World Cup. Italy and Burkina Faso was earlier this morning. Morocco and Brazil is going on right now. It's on FS2. We mentioned being simulcasting what's going on in the Polish League and Liga. ESPN Deportes, La Liga, Valencia, Levante is at 3. U17 quarters being simulcast on Universo. ESPN is a A-League, Bundesliga, Bundesliga B, La Liga, and La Liga 2 with Las Palmas at 2:20. Fox Soccer Plus, U17 quarters. And it's the tail end of Portugal and Switzerland right now. The league we neither condone, endorse, nor promote has a match at 12:30 if you care. Peacock showing the quarterfinals right now as well. Women A-League is later tonight. Peacock, the Gainbridge Super League, is on at 7. Tomorrow, just to give you the leagues that are in play. BN's got Ligue 1, the Polish League, and the Copa Sudamericana with Lanús and Atletico Mineiro. That's at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. USL Championship, Tulsa and Pittsburgh at noon. We'll get a report from Kaylor Hodges coming up next week. Serie A, 9 o'clock, CBS Sports Network. Premier League, Newcastle, Man City at 12:30. Premier League USA doubleheader, 7:30 and 10. Burnley, Chelsea, Bournemouth, West Ham. BN Espanol simulcasting Liga, Polish League, Sudamericana. ESPN Deportes, quadruple header in La Liga starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. Fox Deportes, Serie A, Peru Primera, Honduras Liga Nacional. 2TN simulcasting the USL Championship. Universo has the 3 matches in a row in the Premier League. Season pass once again, $9.42 is what it's listed as. Vancouver and LAFC tomorrow night. ESPN Plus has A-League, Eredivisie, Bundesliga, Bundesliga B, Bundesliga 3, La Liga. Golazo Network, Championship, Coventry City, West Brom, Leicester City, and Stoke. Serie A doubleheader after that. NBCSports.com, 2 matches from the Premier League. Paramount Plus, lock in because here we go. 5 matches in the Championship, including Coventry City, West Brom, Ipswich and Wrexham at 10, Birmingham City, Norwich at 10. Norwich has a new manager. League 2's at 7:30. Serie A, 4 matches that you can choose from at 9, noon, and 2:45. St. Mirren and Celtic, 3 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. Peacock, all 5 matches in the Prem, 4 at 10, 1 at 12:30. NWSL Final, 8 o'clock, primetime CBS. Remember, Jess Charman's going to be on the call on Sirius XM. 8 o'clock, Washington and Gotham, big CBS tomorrow night. A-League on the women's side on ESPN+. Fox Soccer Plus, Serie B. Golazo Network has the women's final. Paramount Plus has the women's final. Peacock has the Super League, and 3 matches there at 1, 7:30, and 7:30. All right, so now what did I miss in our discussions? First off, thanks to Bart Keeler, thanks to Michael Parkhurst, thanks to Kaylor Hodges, and thanks to Miguel Gallardo from Apple TV+. It was a full day for us there. Also on the board, let's see. We covered Major League Soccer, covered all the things. All right, let's run through the news really quickly. And if there's anything that we might have missed, like I said, keep an eye on the Trinity Rodman situation. Oh, NCAA's. NCAA's last night, it was Ohio State winning in double overtime. We played you that goal early. Baylor over Wisconsin. Florida State beat Lipscomb. West Virginia and Georgetown. Georgetown won in PKs. Today, TCU and Memphis, Texas Tech, North Carolina, LSU and Iowa, Clemson and Vanderbilt. That's today. Once again, ESPN Plus and on NCAA.com. Virginia beat Penn State. They're going to play Washington on Sunday. Duke and Kansas are going to play on Sunday as well, since Duke beat UCF and Kansas beat Louisville. So it's a 2, a 3, a 1, and a 4. Chalk low right. A 4, a 5, a 6, and a 1. And Clemson, who is unranked, North Carolina, who is unranked, Texas, a 6, a 7, and a 2 in the lower part of your bracket. Upper right, Michigan State beat Wake Forest in the 2-7. They're going to take on Colorado, who beat Xavier in the 3-6. BYU and UCLA are playing today, 7 o'clock out west, as are Stanford and Alabama in a doubleheader. Those 2 teams will play on Monday afternoon, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday afternoon to work their way through in there. So that is the second round of the women's tournament in Division 1. Looking at the women's tournament, Division 2, once again, reminder, the teams that we're keeping an eye on, Columbus State at noon on NCAA.com. Also, UNG is hosting Anderson in a 2-7. That is at 3 o'clock after Columbus State and Lenore Rhine. Once again, NCAA.com. Lander out of the Peach Belt's playing at noon against Francis Marion. Winner of that one gets the 1-8 Catawba and Belmont Abbey. Lee and Montevallo's a 3-6, waiting on that one at 3 o'clock. Florida Tech and Embry-Riddle a 4-5. Kutztown and Fairmont, by the way, they're going on right now, 20 minutes to go. Fairmont, the 6th seed, upper left, is beating Kutztown by the score of 2-1. That's Division 2 on the women's side. Division 3 on the women's side, and you look at that bracket right now. Early start, WashU and MIT. They started at 11 o'clock this morning, and they have no score in their bracket, upper left. Winner of that one will advance to take on the winner of Messiah and Calvin, which is slated for 1:30. Low left, University of Chicago and Cal Lutheran are tomorrow at noon. They're going to play the winner of Swarthmore and Carleton, which is after that. Washington Lee and Pomona Pitzer, 1:30 tomorrow afternoon. And the winner of that one gets Emory and Johns Hopkins, who play tomorrow morning at 11, NCAA.com. Mary Washington, Penn State, Harrisburg, Tufts and Middlebury, the rest of Division 3. So that gets you on the women's side. Men's side, NCAA, we'll go through Division 1, 2, and 3 real quick. And then we'll go into the NAIA. And then I promise we're done after I say hi to everybody. So bracket for Division 1 on the men's side, your interactive bracket, as we say. It's not a full 64-team tournament. Western Michigan beat Clemson yesterday, so they advanced. They're going to play Furman on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Vermont and Hofstra is also going to be at Sunday at 1 o'clock. Also out west, Grand Canyon advanced, Denver advanced in the upper left. SMU and Washington, they're going to play Sunday night. Kansas City and Stanford are playing Sunday night. UConn and Cornell are Sunday afternoon, as are North Carolina and Maryland. We'll have KCD come on. Casey White will come on Tuesday and break everything down for us in the NCAAs. NC Greensboro won in PKs over Elon last night. They get to take on number 2 Virginia Sunday afternoon at 5. Also at 6 o'clock Sunday, NC State's going to take on Marshall after Marshall beats Cleveland State. West Virginia beat St. John's. They were down early, came back to win in overtime 4-3. They're going to take on the number 10 seed High Point. Winner of that one takes on Georgetown and UCF. Upper right, it is St. Louis and Indiana playing on Sunday. Bryant and Seton Hall playing Sunday night. Notre Dame and Akron playing Sunday afternoon. Princeton and Duke playing Sunday afternoon. So that's Division 1. Division 2 on the men's side in the NCAAs. Once again, still not a full bracket, and activity is going to be happening this afternoon. Young Harris is playing Flagler at 3, and the winner of that one gets Palm Beach Atlantic. West Florida and Rollins are waiting for Sunday as well. Anderson and Lincoln Memorial in your 7-10 upper right. Winner of that one today at 3 plays Lynn out of the Sun Conference at 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. Florida Tech and Mississippi College out of the Gulf South are your 3-6 matchup. Low left, you're looking at matchup today at 2 for the 8-9. Winner of that one gets the 1 seed in Fort Hays. Rockhurst and Maryville play on Sunday. Rogers State and Cedarville. Cedarville won last night, 1-0. They get to go and take on Rogers as a 2. Lincoln, Missouri, and Tiffin. That one is Sunday afternoon at 4. Point Loma, CSU South Bay. That one's at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Today later, Cal State LA and UCCS. Winner of that one gets Cal State Dominguez Hills. Midwestern, Seattle Pacific. Stanislaus is waiting for either Western Oregon or Hawaii Hilo. So that's Division 2. Now, Division 3 in the footprint. Excuse me. You have the ones that are left playing tomorrow. Tufts, Messiah, Connecticut College, and Baldwin. That's upper left. Lower left, St. Olaf, Williams, McAllister, and Wheaton, Mass. Low right, and this is where it hits our footprint. Emory and Rowan tomorrow, men's soccer, 3:30 tomorrow afternoon, NCAA.com. Emory and Rowan. Winner of that one gets the winner of Lynchburg and Dickinson, which plays ahead of them in Lynchburg, Virginia. Upper right, Trinity of Texas is taking on Wash U tomorrow afternoon at 2:30. Augsburg and Cortland is before them at noon. So that's all of the NCAAs. Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, all your brackets. NAIA, before we get out, we'll see if we missed up anything here. So we had the opening matchups in your first and second round schedules. It was games that are going to be taken going tomorrow. And last night, I'm trying to see who was close or in the footprint that played. Harris Stowe out of St. Louis lost 1-0 to Ottawa, Kansas. They're going to go play Lindsey Wilson. That one is tomorrow afternoon at 6. William Carey and John Brown in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, tomorrow afternoon at 5 Eastern. And then you advance to the final site. The matchup in this footprint that matters out of Lawrenceville up at Georgia Gwinnett. It is on the men's side. Georgia Gwinnett taking on Rio Grande, and that one is at 1 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. You can catch the video probably on the GGC YouTube channel, but it's also available through the players at the NAIA.org and the Urban Edge Network. So keep an eye out on that. Georgia Gwinnett hosting Rio Grande tomorrow afternoon, 1 o'clock. Lebanon, Tennessee. Carroll of Montana beat Wiley. They're going to take on Cumberland of Tennessee tomorrow as they have the home match in the home site in Lebanon, Tennessee. Milligan shut out LSU Alexandria, and that was yesterday. So they get to take on Life. That is tomorrow afternoon at 5. Once again, Urban Edge Network, NAIA.org. Go to the schedule, click on the live video link, and you'll get Life and Milligan, Tennessee. It is in McKenzie, Tennessee, an old Mid-South matchup, Union and Bethel. Southern States and Mid-South going at it tomorrow afternoon in McKenzie, Tennessee. Union beat Rocky Mountain of Montana in the play-in. They get Bethel tomorrow. Let's see. Olivet Nazarene, La Sierra, Bethel, and Olivet Nazarene. Olathe, Kansas has teams in the Midwest. LSU Shreveport's taking on Faulkner tomorrow afternoon. And in West Palm, it is Warner Pacific, who shut out Dalton State yesterday afternoon. Warner Pacific takes on Kaiser tomorrow, 1:30 in the afternoon in West Palm Beach. Cumberland's and Xavier playing in Williamsburg, Kentucky tomorrow. And Grace and William Penn are playing tomorrow afternoon, a time TBD. Now, on the women's side, for the tournaments there, on the women's side of things, once again, keeping an eye on the teams here in the footprint for the NAIA first and second round. First round matches are set. Second round is set for Saturday. So here is the schedule there, and everybody is working their way toward Pensacola, Florida. Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Talladega loses 6-0. Mid-American Christian takes on Oklahoma Wesleyan. This is NAIA girls. Caldwell, Idaho, busy. College of Idaho, Masters, California. Chickasha, Oklahoma, Science and Arts against Mid-American Nazarene. Match in the footprint. Truett McConnell taking on Cumberland, Tennessee tomorrow afternoon on the Urban Edge Network. Time 2 o'clock. Hattiesburg, Mississippi. It is Xavier, Louisiana taking on William Carey. That one's also on Urban Edge, 1 o'clock Central Time tomorrow afternoon. Indianapolis has Aquinas, Michigan, and Marion. Lakeland, Florida has Southeastern Florida and Lindsey Wilson tomorrow at 6 Eastern. In Marietta, Life, Georgia, and Tennessee Wesleyan on the women's side of things, 1 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow, Urban Edge Network. Go in person if you can, or go to NAIA.org. Indiana Wesleyan, Oakland City. Marshall, Missouri is Missouri Valley and Spring Arbor. Prescott, Arizona, Embry-Riddle and Westcliff. Siloam Springs, Arkansas, John Brown and Hastings. Upland, Indiana, Taylor and Central Methodist. West Palm, Kaiser, Florida, and Georgia Gwinnett's women. They're down at Kaiser in West Palm tomorrow afternoon at 1:30. Williamsburg, Kentucky, Cumberland's and Columbia Mo. Winona Lake, Indiana. It is Grace, Indiana, and Southern Oregon. And that's round 2. That is round 2, people. That's where we are. NAIA, NCAA, postseason, crazy. It's all there. Before we get out of here, I think we ought to do the what you call it, the whoosy what's it's juice boxes for the Premier League, just to see where everybody is. Ruben Amorim expecting Benjamin Sesko back before they depart for AFCON. Apparently, Cole Palmer has a broken bone in his toe from an accident at home. I'm guessing he probably turned a corner and kicked a table or something. So Cole Palmer has a fractured toe. Yes, he has a fractured toe. I think that's it for headlines, at least coming into today. Let's get into juice boxes really quickly, the Prem, and then we'll stop talking. Thanks to Nino Torres. Thanks to Bart Keeler. Thanks to Kaylor Hodges. Thanks to Miguel Gallardo. Thanks to Michael Parkhurst for joining us on a very, very busy Friday. And I'm not kidding. It was a busy Friday, folks. It was a big, busy Friday, too. It developed into more things. So if United Kingdom, is that where it is? Is it listed as Ukraine, UAE? Where's Great Britain or Britain? Europe, France, Georgia, Germany, Ghana, Greece, Grenada, Guatemala. So where's Britain? Is it Britain? Where is it? Seriously? It's not up here? Where is Great Britain? Serious? Wow. Okay. So I'm trying to sit here and find it, and I can't find the United Kingdom. Can't find the United Kingdom to save my life. UAE, Uruguay, Ukraine, Uganda. And I think that's a sign. I think that's a sign to wrap it up. So we'll wrap it up. Enjoy your games this weekend, everybody. It's been a blast all week long. Don't forget on the Odyssey app, 929 The Game Off the Woodwork podcast section, you will hear interviews that we've had this week on the Best of SDH AM. Let me say hi to everybody before we get out of here. Morning Catalucci, and it's almost turning into lunch. Morning Abby, morning Bart, morning Four Card. Let's see. And let's see. Abby, we got to ask about that, about the questions. Morning Kefsey. And let's see. Morning David, morning Abby, morning Pars, morning OG, and morning Alex, morning Pars, morning David. That'll do it. It's another go round of SDH AM. We went long this week. We went long this morning because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to get into. And some mornings you just need the extra time. So thanks to all of you folks for yet another busy week here at SDH AM. Since it's the end of the show and since it is a Friday, that means we get to do this. Play it safe, everybody. We'll catch up with you this weekend. Back out here, 9:05 Monday morning.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress, the streets